hoping that like I'll get to like at some point see Stevie Wonder, or preferably I'd like to play in his horn section at just one gig. It's all I need. If I can just play beep beep boo 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 boo, like Superstition. Yeah, if I can play that with him and he's just like doing the whole thing, like I could die happy. Then.
Oh man, that'd be dope. Man.
I could die really happy. I was really sad when Prince died because he's got great songs. His band is always just so killing.
And you never saw Purple Rain, did you?
The movie?
Yeah.
No, I still haven't gotten around to see that.
If you're a Prince fan, you definitely should see it. It's.
I love Prince.
It's an all right movie, but if you're a Prince fan, you're gonna love it.
Yeah. No, I've heard like Purple Rain is only looked upon favorably because it's Prince. But like, if you ask any like regular movie person or someone who will be honest with you, all of them will say like it's not a fantastic movie. Yeah. But just because it's Prince and it was like had a lot of significance and there was like a lot of original music and a lot of very famous music that came out of that, it's a kind of a huge thing.
Oh yeah, yeah. My aunt, she loves Prince. Yeah, she got me into
Purple Rain. Purple Rain.
Did you guys ever hear about that story where he played basketball, but it was like in his actual
blouse?
Yeah, like he was actually in his like his getup that he wears, like,
blouse.
Oh my god,
all this stuff. I thought that was amazing.
Dave Chappelle.
Yeah. Have you seen the Rick James one?
I'm Red James, bitch.
My favorite.
Charlie Murphy. And he's like, what are the 5 fingers say to the face? He like slaps the shit out of Charlie Murphy.
See, this man, he messed with me all night. So what I did, I just front kicked him in the chest, and then he freaking flew back like,
Charlie Murphy goes. He's like, gets really mad. He kicks him in the chest, and he's got they got Dave Chappelle.
I am so scared that you're gonna hit that painting.
Yeah, for real.
Like you need to stop going backwards.
They put him on wires, and he's like, It's so stupid. My
That's
favorite
awesome.
part is whenever he was talking about like he was playing basketball with Prince, and he goes, so like we went back to the house, we all changed because we're getting ready to ball. we get to Prince's house, they're wearing the same stuff they've been wearing all night.
Yeah, that's it.
And then whenever it does a close up on Dave Chappelle's face, and he was talking about like Prince has like those weird like eyes that like they're just like very hypnotizing. No, he's like.
Have you heard Kevin Smith's stories with Prince?
Kevin Smith?
Yeah.
What?
Yeah, because he was doing he was doing a film or documentary with Prince, but Prince, because Prince, he's kind of weird.
Yeah.
And
very elusive.
Yeah. But it's just whenever this podcast is over, I'm gonna send you the link to it. It's hilarious. It's like an hour long, but oh my gosh, it's so worth it.
You guys saw the thing that Jimmy Fallon was talking about, right?
No, what?
So right after Prince died, Jimmy Fallon told this story where it was like, we were at Madison Square, or no, well, like Jimmy Fallon just had his kid.
Oh, okay.
And then he got a text from Questlove. Questlove was like,
is this the guitar story?
No.
Okay. So
Questlove was like, hey, you might get a text in a little bit. Make sure you read and answer and reply. Because apparently Prince doesn't have a phone.
Right.
And Jimmy Fallon was like, whenever Prince wants to get in touch with you, it's always like, oh, he wants to do something. It's you never know what number it is. It changes all the time, and it's always like he ... whatever. So he gets a text right after he has his kid. He wants to meet you and play ping pong.
Oh my god!
So in a very weird way, apparently Jimmy Fallon said his wife was like, "Hey, where you going?" He was like, "I gotta go. I gotta go play ping pong with Prince."
Yeah,
it's like a really weird sentence. And so he goes to like this place in New York or whatever, and gets to the place, and he's like, "Here to see Prince," and they're like, "Okay, this way." And then they take him like into like this private room, and apparently like Jimmy Fallon, you gotta watch the video. He explains it way better than I. But he walks into the room, and Prince is wearing like a blue velvet suit, and he's just holding a ping pong ball, and he's like, ready to play.
I could totally see that.
Like,
yeah,
like he's like, ready to do this.
Yeah.
And so like they start playing, and apparently like Prince was like an amazing ping pong player.
He's just amazing. Period.
I mean, yeah. So they start warming up, and whatever, and like they start the game, and like Prince like annihilates Jimmy Fallon. And he's like they're going to like 11 or something like that. I don't know. Jimmy has like 6. Prince is like at 10, crushing him. And he's like, point. And then like, and then he like hits the ball in like that special way where like it hits the very end of the table.
But then it goes back.
But then like goes like straight down,
Oh, okay.
So then like Jimmy Fallon, like, the ball goes off the table, rolls around somewhere. Jimmy Fallon turns around and like gets the ball and turns back, and Prince is gone.
Oh my god.
Like completely silent.
Really?
He just turns around, not there at all. Not there at all. So at that time, Prince was in his car, and Questlove was like going into the club to go hang out with Jimmy. Like Questlove goes to the car and the window rolls down. Questlove is like, "What happened? How'd it go, Prince? What happened?" And then Prince rolls down the window like it's a reference. It's Grey Poupon style, like the window rolls down, you know. And he goes, "Ask a boy." And then the window rolls back up. You gotta watch the video.
That's awesome.
That's hilarious.
If you're listening too, you need to watch the video. It's pretty.
We'll put in
funny.
the link in the description
Yeah, do
below.
it. It's a really funny video.
Yeah, well, guys, I guess the introduction kind of speaks for itself. It's me, Anthony from Movieman Productions, and I'm doing another episode of MoviemanTalks today. And I got my boys with me.
What to do?
Yeah.
Nathan's back again.
Yeah, finally.
Gosh.
So happy to see you here.
But he's been gone doing some cool stuff. What were you doing?
So last couple weeks have been kind of crazy for me. Just a lot of like band things going on. I played in an opera here at school, which took a lot of my time. And then I actually this past week I went to South by Southwest. A band that I was in got asked to go play down there in like the Oklahoma showcase, and that was a really crazy time. Austin's a really crazy place.
Love that place.
But it was really fun and like it was just kind of. It was a little stressful, but it was cool.
This is kind of like a side thing. Did you play with Byron Crenshaw? Because he was also down there.
No, I saw that Byron was down there.
Oh,
but,
okay.
but he goes to school and lives in Texas.
Oh,
so
I didn't know that. Okay.
Yeah, he goes
cool.
to UNT.
Right on.
Byron. That's what it made me think of.
I don't know.
What is that?
Oh, well.
Like,
I was hoping you'd see a Medea movie.
I mean, I've seen like the original one. The original one where she's like, you throw the grits on his face. Grits,
Grit
pow,
ball.
like
Called grit ball.
Yeah.
Man, so tell us a little bit about your experience at South by Southwest. That's what it's called?
Yeah, South by Southwest.
Okay, cool.
Okay, so honestly, I didn't get the amount of time that I had wanted to be there.
Right.
There's like a bunch of different stages that do different showcases and have a lot of bands and stuff. And South by Southwest is a huge deal. They premiere stuff for movies. They premiere like really really big artists. They sometimes do single releases or they talk about a lot of press things. It's crazy. But unfortunately, because like I'm in school as well, my time scheduling wise is very limited.
Right.
So we were supposed to go this past week. We were supposed to go Thursday. Or not Thursday, excuse me, Wednesday. We played Thursday. And so we were trying to leave in the morning. I made arrangements with my professors and classwork and stuff so I could, it's the week before spring break. So someone's probably practicing. That's what that noise is.
Oh, okay. I
But
didn't know if I could hear that.
so I made arrangements to take some exams early and stuff, just so I could get it out of the way, so I could leave as early as possible. And so coming up, not tomorrow, but Thursday morning, I'm going back down to Texas for another band trip. It's like a huge deal, like a big Band Directors Association conference.
That's awesome.
It's like a national thing that TU got picked up to do.
That's dope.
Yeah, it was pretty tight. So that's a huge deal. So we're really coming down hard and trying to prepare for that. And so in preparation for that, our director scheduled a 6 p.m. to 9 p.m. rehearsal on Wednesday night. So that completely threw off all of my plans because I can't leave.
Oh, yeah.
And so, and another buddy of mine, he and I are both in the wind ensemble and in this band that was going down to South by Southwest. And he also goes here to TU.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
And so we emailed the director and we were like, okay, so, we're good at what we do. We know the music well. Would you be okay with letting us be excused from the rehearsal so we can go, because it's a long drive. It's 8 hours. And we need to be there as early as possible and stuff. And so he was like, no. So
Yeah.
so we got through the whole school day, and I had a big project that was due, so I was up really, really late the night before on Tuesday night. So up late Tuesday night, Wednesday morning, get up early, go to all my classes and stuff, go to the 2 band rehearsals that I had normally. Afterward, I go to the 6 p.m. to 9 p.m., and then we have to drive to Texas after that rehearsal. So after that full day of stuff, we had to then drive the 8 hours to Texas, which was awful. Awful.
No, I totally know what you mean, because I go every summer.
Yeah.
Just down there.
Yeah.
And the reason why I looked at you was because
I know
he
why
was
you
like
looked at me, you
8
little
hours.
bitch.
I'm like, yeah, 8 hours.
Oh, okay. Well, my family's different because we're used to always going on long road
Right, I
trips
feel
and
you.
all that, but
Yeah. Well, I mean, 8 hours isn't all that bad. I drove to Texas for the Disney audition.
Right.
That was 4 hours to Fort Worth, 4.5-ish or 5. But and then this past summer I drove down to Galveston, which is about 8 hours also or something like that.
Yeah, something like
So that's not the problem. The problem was where that 8 hours was located.
Right.
Because now we're driving at 9 p.m.
Oh, yeah.
and then that's when we start. We left Oklahoma at 9 p.m. So then we didn't get to our hotel rooms until 4:30, close to 5 in the morning.
Yeah.
So then we go to bed, but then we got to wake up early and get to the venue and check in and do our sound check and set up everything, because we played around noon. So it was just kind of crazy, and everyone was super exhausted. getting to bed at 5 a.m., waking up 3 hours later at like 8. Everyone, we have like these like special suits that we wear.
Yeah.
That we got, and
Are they all
like,
matching?
Yeah, they're all
okay.
matching. Yeah, gotta be baller all the time.
Yeah, there you go.
But yeah, it was crazy. But the good thing is like because it's a show and it's South by Southwest, it's like new experiences. The adrenaline kicked in, and then I had like a second wind to get me through the show, and the show went really, really well. We got some cool stuff that's in the works for us now. But then after the show, we were like, okay, so we're all like starving. We haven't like had much to eat this morning, so we go out to lunch. When we were going out to lunch, well, it was more like dinner then. So we were out to eat, and it was just like it hit me like a brick wall. I was so exhausted.
Yeah.
And so people were like, "Are you guys gonna stay? Like, you guys have a hotel?" And we were like, "Yeah." And then they were wondering if we were gonna like go back out and see the other bands because there's a lot of incredible music down there.
Yeah.
And
just quick question:
Yeah.
Did you actually have to pay for admission at all?
no, well, because
Okay.
we were playing. So,
Okay.
Yeah.
Because like I was looking at some of the tickets just for like the movie stuff, and like it goes from like because we had been talking about it last week.
yeah, it can get pretty expensive.
It's like 8,000 or 800 to like almost 2,000. Yeah,
Yeah.
depending on what criteria you get. So
What's the
I
name
don't.
of that Power Rangers dude who's like, ay.
Oh,
You know what I'm
the
talking
little
about?
robot dude.
Yeah.
I don't know his name. Like Goldar, Gung Thing.
What?
They got like weird names.
Goldar.
No, they do
Goldar's
have weird
actual,
names though.
his actual guy.
I
Yeah.
know,
He's, like,
but-
he's the monkey that's made out of gold.
Yeah. I was just I can't remember
That
the
sounds
name
really
of that.
ridiculous just talking about it.
I can't remember the name of that.
Was it like Megazoid?
Oh. What?
Was it Megazoid or was that the?
No, Megazord's the big old robot.
when they combine?
I don't know.
When they, like-
I never actually watched. I never actually was able to watch Power Rangers as a kid for some reason.
Really?
Yeah.
Well, that was like the only show I was able
That's
to
because
watch.
they had the Black Ranger.
Probably so.
And I love how the Black Ranger was also a black person.
I know. Yeah.
Come on, guys.
Well, they switched him up. He's like he's
It's a little
black
on
and
the nose.
blue, and then like at one point he was red. That didn't last long.
Well,
Went back to black.
yeah. Okay. No, but it was just kind of crazy, and because we were so tired, we knew we weren't gonna stay and watch any
Right.
bands. We would just like pass out. So we just decided to drive back.
Yeah.
Oh my.
So
God.
then after the show and after we eat and we're like dead to the world, we just make the drive back, and then which was probably for the best because once we got back, it was like super late at night. Probably I got home around 2 a.m. And then
Just
I
cried.
just death.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
But so I'm sad that I didn't get to spend a lot of time out there, but it was
Yeah.
really, really cool.
So
And
you didn't get to hit up any of the barbecue joints down there.
No.
Were you located downtown,
Yeah, I think we were in downtown.
like
yeah.
6th Street, stuff like that?
I couldn't
Okay,
tell you.
okay.
I'm not
Was
from
this
the
an
fine.
outdoor thing or was it an indoor thing?
Yeah, no, it was outdoor. They have
Oh,
like
that's dope.
these big tents and stuff that
Yeah.
and, like canopies.
Yeah, because
awnings, I
it
guess
takes
you
up
would
like
call 'em.
everything downtown.
Yeah, it's like
Yeah.
they closed down a lot of stuff and people were just walking around in the streets and stuff, and it's really cool.
Yeah.
Good time.
You're going places, kid.
Thanks, Dad.
Nathan with the jump shot.
With the jump shot.
There you go.
Okay, so I'm gonna kind of fangirl out for a minute.
I'm gonna slow things down.
Yeah.
So
KJS.
okay, so guys, at the time of this podcast, approximately like 6 hours ago, we got the first trailer for the new Dragon Ball Super movie.
Yay.
Wow. What a dick.
I like your
Dang.
enthusiasm, Ethan.
Right? Hey.
But man, it was great.
Was it?
It was fantastic. It's like a little 30-second little teaser.
That's cool.
Because they totally changed the animation.
Is it this first one right here?
Yes.
Oh, for the very last episode they changed it?
Oh no! This isn't the last episode. This is the movie.
Oh, okay, so it's a movie. Okay.
Yeah, it's gonna be out December 18th, 14th.
Okay.
Whew, look at that! Oh my gosh.
Okay, honestly, I'm not even a big drag. Oh my gosh.
Yeah, I know.
Well, that's cool.
I'm not even.
This kid was.
No, I'm watching it through his like glasses.
Ring But good on shit in the Dragon Ball Super.
No, I'm not even
That's
like
awesome.
a Dragon Ball fan, but that actually looks pretty tight.
Yeah, man. Hey, guys, right now, Dragon Ball is ending
Right.
again.
Where does that fall into?
Hmm?
Where does this movie fall into the
This is
story?
gonna be after the last episode.
Oh, okay.
So is this like the final thing, like to tie everything together, or like?
yeah, pretty much. Yeah.
Wait, so after the movie, are they just gonna stop? Like that's it?
Well,
We'll
that's
probably do
that's another
something.
thing.
There's no way that would happen.
Well, because Dragon Ball makes so much money.
Right.
It's a big name.
GTT.
So shut up. But like,
GT was awful.
yeah, it was
That's my favorite episodes, dude. Come on.
Season.
series.
Huh?
Series. Oh yeah.
That's
They sell the series at Walmart for
That
like
shows you how much
$20.
I know.
Yeah, I know.
The whole thing.
Yeah. but-
Dragon Ball
that's-
GT $1. Like,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Essentially.
Okay, so last Sunday, because that's
Yeah.
when I watch it.
Oh, okay.
Saturday, Sunday.
Saturday.
Yeah, it's weird because I watched it at like 11:30.
It's the morning. like,
That's when I go to work.
yeah.
So that was literally the best episode of the whole series. It was just awesome. I'm not gonna go into detail with you guys because you wouldn't understand. Anyway,
This is why I don't
So-
like bringing up Dragon Ball.
Because you.
so this week coming up, we are going into the last episode, and I'm already emotional.
I see a tear.
You guys can't.
Yeah.
You guys can't see it, but he's literally weeping.
Yeah.
Ah.
That's how you weep.
You know what you remind me of? I just want you to know.
Oh.
I still love you. Have you seen? Someone did an edit where like the old Pokemon movie where all the Pokemon die, and so like you know how like I think it's like the one with Mewtwo where they all get
Yeah,
frozen.
no, it's,
yeah, that's
Yeah.
and so like all the Pokemon are like being frozen, and Pikachu was like going around like everyone wake
Yeah.
up, like Pika Pete, like all this stuff, and then it like just cuts to him. He's like, ah, it's so bad.
I saw this one edit
It's
to where
so
it was
funny.
like, you guys ever play Call of Duty Zombies?
Yeah.
You know
Yeah.
the sound they make. They're like,
It's
it was
just
like-
that
it was
guy.
like-
Oh, it's amazing.
But yeah, so Dragon Ball's ending. I'm very sad, but you know we get him. Yeah, I know. He-Man.
What skeleton?
Why does it always go back to Masters of the Universe? I don't know.
He-Man, Masters of the Universe. Man,
I
that's a
have
good-
the power.
But yeah, so that's all I'm gonna say about Dragon Ball.
That's awesome.
But hopefully we'll be having a special guest on to discuss the end of the series. So
Who's the special guest?
I don't know yet. Actually, I do know.
He
I just
does know.
well, I don't want to say it because just in case he doesn't get on, then I'd feel kind of stupid.
Wait, but it's already in the recording now. So what?
I found the thing, but it's looped for 10 minutes.
10 hours. That's spiel.
It's that stupid Pokemon.
It's-
He's like, there's all the sad stuff that's happening. And then that just happens, like, straight
Yeah.
off the bat. Dude, it's stupid. Okay.
That's hilarious.
How did you get your YouTube to be black like that?
Oh,
Yeah,
so
no,
they
I
have
wondered
they
that
have
too.
this thing. It's a new update, I think, where it does nighttime.
Wakanda
or-
tube.
Yeah.
But how,
Wakanda too.
do you?
I don't know. It came up like after an update, and
Oh,
it was
got
like turn it on. And I
Got
was
it.
like, all right.
Wait, you have Wakanda tube too? I guess I'm missing. Speaking of Wakanda tube, I've seen I've seen Black Panther too many times now. I don't
How
think
many
I could-
times have you seen?
Been like 4 times, I think.
See, I only saw it that one.
Yeah. Well, my thing is okay, because I had to take my mom to see it yesterday.
Oh, when we saw it. Sorry.
Yeah, and
Yeah,
then
continue.
okay. So first off, we saw it. And then I had
Yeah.
to take my aunts to see it because I had to spread the Black Power.
Okay.
And then I think I went with my friend. And then yesterday I took my mom. So I'm kind of like, man, I know every line now, but I'm kind of tired of the movie.
I never
I-
freeze.
I never freeze. But yeah,
And then she's like, "Hello," and he's like, like,
you froze. Did you? Okay, so guys, this is gonna sound really stupid. In case you already knew, did you know the badass girl in there was Michonne on
Yeah.
Walking? Okay, yeah, I'm dumb. On Walking Dead. Okay.
Yeah.
You didn't know that? You little.
No, but it makes sense.
Yeah, it does. Yeah, because I was like, man, she looks so
the
familiar.
bald
Yeah.
girl.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah.
She just needs her dreads or whatever.
Yeah, I'm excited
Those
to see her
Michonne
again.
dreads.
Are they finally finishing The Walking Dead?
It's time to stop.
Because
Well,
that's
'cause,
It's time to stop.
because they just spoil. I'm gonna
Pterodactyl.
spoil something.
I don't care. I don't
Okay.
like Walking Dead.
Carl died.
Yeah.
already,
Well, 'cause
so-
they fired him.
Nuh-uh.
Oh, I didn't know that he
Oh,
fired
I didn't
him.
know
Because
that.
that's what they had to kill him off because they
Yeah,
fired
he
him.
just died. Like,
You ruined it for me.
oh.
I'm just kidding.
Well, but
actually.
So
you
did
guys-
Twitter.
Do you guys know that they're making a Walking Dead like theatrical movie?
Yeah, I saw
gonna-
that.
Yeah, because they're gonna be crossing over the Fear of Walking Dead and that one.
Oh, I thought that's how they were ending it. They were like doing
I think
the
the movie-
final because
Isn't
I
the movie
think
gonna
this
be
is
there?
the final season.
I hope
See,
so.
I'm sure the people who really like Walking Dead would disagree with me, but I mean, at the beginning when that show like first started, I thought it was great. Like there was a lot of cool stuff that happened, but
Yeah.
there's only so much you can do with people running away from zombies.
Yes,
for
that's
how-
exactly what I was. That's
like
what
I mean,
threw me
it's
off.
it's cool. Like you have plots, you have like all these different deaths, but like it's got to end sometime. The
Mhm.
main plot is we're running away from zombies all the time.
Yep.
Like and like it kind of died off a little bit, and then there was the whole Negan thing,
Yeah.
and that kind of respurred some interest.
Yeah, only because he was like a fan favorite in the comics.
Right,
Yeah.
in the graphic novels and stuff. But still, I never understood the appeal of the show.
Yeah, see, because I stopped watching after like season 3 or 2 or something
Yeah.
like that. 'cause
Is
it
that
was
the
just-
one
it
where
got
they're in the
boring.
prison?
Yeah, it
Yeah,
just
the
got-
prison one is like really bad.
It was
Yeah.
just boring, and I'm
Well,
just
also,
like,
like,
they're
how
doing
many
the same
times-
thing.
Yeah, like how many times can you escape near death from all these like flesh-eating zombies?
Yeah.
And like always like barely like, oh, I'm just gonna cover myself in blood and they'll never find
no.
me. Like it
Yeah.
makes no sense.
Yeah, and I'm kind of zombied out because that was the point where everyone was doing a zombie something, and
Everybody.
it was just ridiculous.
Well, you know what? Sadly, I'm kind of getting like that with cyberpunk stuff. 'Cause I
I am
love
too.
cyberpunk stuff.
I know, yeah, because we had Mute, we had Blade Runner.
Right.
Yeah, I
We
haven't
had-
seen Mute yet.
Oh,
I
it's
was
really
so
good.
I was so just like excited to like see it, but I'm like
Yeah.
after watching like Blade Runner a couple of times
Mhm.
and then just like a few other things, I'm just like I'm done,
Oh.
man, for right now.
Okay, I need to tell you something real
Okay.
quick.
me.
So I've been watching this movie. I haven't finished it yet, but I think it's a movie you would definitely like.
Mm-hmm.
It's called Searching for Fellini, I believe. What?
Sounds Italian.
It
like,
is- well,
like,
well,
like-
no, it is.
oh, it is.
It's not an Italian film, but
Searching
but
for-
you know Ferdinand. No, I can't ever. Federico Fellini. He was a famous filmmaker, Italian filmmaker.
Wait, what was it called?
It's called Searching for Fellini.
Fellini.
Yeah, it's on
Okay.
Netflix. It's a great movie. The cinematography, I would literally put that on par with Blade Runners.
Yeah.
But it's in a different environment. But I feel like that'd be more your pace because it's down to earth. It's more realistic because that's kind of the stuff that you like to write.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I feel like you would really like it. It's really entertaining.
You know what I just got into?
What?
Freaks and Geeks. I just finished it.
Freaks and Geeks.
Have you guys seen that?
Is that the?
It's
Yeah,
by
Which one is that? Is that
it has Seth Rogen, James Franco, but it was like when they like this is their first thing that they ever did. It also
Before
has
they became like the duo.
yeah, and then it has like it has like so many people from like Spider-Man: Homecoming. Like,
Oh.
do you guys remember the debate principal
Yeah.
or the teacher?
Mm.
He's in it as a kid.
Wait,
Wow.
His name's like
principal.
what? No, not the principal. I'm sorry.
de-
The debate
coach.
coach, the guy with the long hair and the beard and with
Oh,
the
okay.
glasses.
Yeah, I
He's
wouldn't-
also in it. Yeah, and then there were like a
wouldn't have
couple of
picked
like
him out.
there were like 5 characters from that show
Mm.
in that movie. But yeah, no, that's like where Seth Rogen and all of them got their first like start with movies and also just like as a friendship, and that's why like James Franco and Seth Rogen are like so joined to the hip essentially
Oh,
with
dope.
all of their movies.
I gotta check that out.
Yeah.
Going back to the zombies thing, the best zombie thing that anyone's ever made was Scooby-Doo Zombie Island.
Okay.
I second that.
It's such a great movie.
Yeah. Well, if we're really talking best zombie movie, I would say.
World War Z.
Warm Bodies for sure.
Oh no, I was
Those
thinking.
both were bad.
I was thinking
Very bad.
Shaun
Yeah.
of the Dead. I love Shaun of the
Yes,
Dead.
very
Shaun
much
of the
so.
Dead's
Haven't seen
great.
Oh, dude.
Check it out.
That or Zombieland.
I haven't seen
Uh,
Zombieland
Z-
either.
You guys can borrow it. I paid $5. I want my $5 back. Wasn't that
Oh,
great?
It wasn't that
Really?
It
good.
wasn't that
I
great.
heard Bill Murray made like a
Yeah,
cameo in
well,
it.
What do
it's
you
it's
think?
good, but I was like,
Yeah, because people were like,
wasn't
"Oh,
that?
it's the best movie ever."
I don't know how there's a cult following with that movie.
Man, and I heard there's. Did they ever make the sequel, or is that?
No,
not
I
out
don't think
yet?
so.
Oh, huh.
Oh, I watched The Social Network once again. I love that movie.
Yeah.
I know you like it's such a boring movie,
it is.
but it's so good. Like the writing in there. I took Aaron Sorkin's class on Master Class, and also he's in it. I didn't know that till I rewatched it, but it was so good. Like just like the writing in there is so intricate, which is like how they do their conversations and different stuff. It's just amazing.
Then you would really like Searching for Fellini.
Okay.
I
Oh, yeah.
I swear it's a great movie.
Okay.
It's
Is it kind of like that?
Well, okay, so it's about this girl.
Uh-huh.
She's been sheltered all her life, so she doesn't know anything about much about the outside world. It's just her trying to get adjusted to it.
How do you spell Fellini? I've been trying to figure that out.
I'll tell you in a minute.
Okay.
But she's
and then they go searching
well,
for Fellini.
pretty much, yeah. But like,
Sounds like
so-
they're searching
well, no,
like for
because,
like a
she-
rare falafel.
She goes to the big city by herself one day to get a job, but it's actually like a porn job. She didn't even know. So then she runs away. She's like,
Hey,
she
what
goes to like this, she goes to like this film festival,
Yeah.
and it's all, I can never pronounce his first name. It's Fellini, is all his films, and she's like intrigued by it. So she's like, I really want to meet this guy. So she goes to Italy to try and find him. But the cinematography is like, oh my gosh, it's like,
Yeah, I got 88 on Rotten Tomatoes.
yeah, it was great. I think you'd like it.
Yeah, I'll check it out.
Yeah.
See what it's about.
All right. So I listened to the H3 podcast a few
With
days
Post
ago.
Malone.
Gosh, they overuse him so
Oh,
much.
Yeah,
and
but
I-
he's like so cool.
he's aight.
He's so
No,
nice.
Post Malone is a lot of hype.
Yeah. But they had Vsauce 3 on there. Which apparently there's like 3 Vsauces. Apparently
Like 3 different guys.
Yeah, there's 3 different.
So there's
Vsauces.
2 more other than the 3.
Yeah, there's like the bald one, and there's the other guy.
Jake?
And then there's
Are you talking about Jake?
Yeah, Jake.
Yeah.
Jake. He was talking. and
Well,
they're-
Jake actually left and worked for Casey Neistat
Yeah,
for a little
yeah.
while. So I was like,
Yeah, and
I
then
can't
Beam
believe they-
shut.
yeah,
well,
I-
it didn't shut down. They sold it to CNN.
yeah, but it's well, I
Yeah.
mean, it was a parent company from
Can someone
CNN.
explain to me what it is that Casey Neistat even does?
He's a filmmaker, but he does.
He's
vlogs.
a vlogger. It's not.
He's a
he-
filmmaker.
He's a filmmaker vlogger, but he's more of a vlogger than a filmmaker.
He's labeled as a filmmaker.
That's
And I
what he
would- and I
labels
would say- and I
himself.
would say that because you can't make films every day.
Right, but he makes more vlogs than films.
Okay, well,
'Cause, I mean, I see him everywhere.
I'll argue about this
Right.
later,
Yeah,
'cause
we
I
can
gotta
argue
get
about this.
something
Yeah.
else.
Like, I mean, don't get me wrong. I love him, and he's one of my
Okay.
like inspirations. But
Yeah. Okay, so like I was trying to say earlier, before I was rudely interrupted. No, but
Because you guys wouldn't understand.
I'm turning
you know what? I'll just do this podcast by myself. Get out of here.
All right.
Right when you guys leave, it just gets really awkward.
Hey guys, it's
you
me,
start
Anthony
crying.
Fraizer.
Like
Ah,
You start doing the
hey man.
you start
every time.
you start doing like impressions of us standing in for us.
Oh, hi, I'm Nathan. Hardy
Okay,
har.
you know
Trumpet,
what?
trumpet.
Wow, that is
I'm
nothing of
I'm
what I,
Ethan. Text. Oh, guys. You guys are great.
you have to go between our laughs.
No, but
So
also
gross.
he could just be using like one mic, but he starts running
I know.
to all
I just
3 of the
love
other
it.
mics.
I'm Ethan.
He would just have like all the mics like lined up in a row. It's like like so dumb. So
Okay.
stupid.
Anyways,
So what's our topic today?
okay, I'm about to go over it.
All
now.
right.
I'm trying to like lead into it. But I keep getting off.
Yeah,
track.
go ahead.
So
This time I won't.
so like I said, I was watching the H3 podcast.
Hey man,
That's our topic. Oh my god. So I was watching the H3 podcast again, like I said, and I was watching Vsauce 3, which is, what was his name, Jason or something?
Jake.
Jake. Potato. But yeah, so they asked him. They're all like, why do you do what you do? What makes you love what you like doing? He's like,
Yeah.
well, to be honest, I'm doing it all for myself. And he's all like, I believe that we have to be selfish when we're going for our goals and all that.
I agree with
Because and he's all like, I want to make stories, but these are stories that I want to make. I'm not really necessarily making it for people, but people get stuff out of it. That's
Right.
fine. So that that really intrigued me. I was like, wow, I never really thought of it like that. And I was like, wow, well, this is a good idea for a topic. And then also I was watching like I forgot whatever superhero movie it was. It was like the first one. I think it was like
The
first
Avengers?
I think it was like the first Spider-Man. I was like, huh, origin stories plus this idea I got from this other podcast. Okay, so what I'm trying to say is that I kind of want to.
Tell our story.
Yeah, just tell our stories. Why? Because we all have our thing.
Yeah.
You're the music guy. I'm the film guy. Ethan's the.
Ethan.
He's Ethan.
I love, but also hate the pause that you put in there.
Yeah.
You're the music guy.
He
I'm the
does that
film guy.
all the time.
Ethan's the. He's the guy.
Damn.
So
He's here.
He's here.
Alright.
It's Ethan. Look, it's Ethan.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I kind of want to because
we're all pretty different.
yeah,
Yeah.
We've got a lot of vastly different interests.
yeah. So I guess we can kind of just go around and just I got questions for us as well.
I'm an alcoholic.
Hi, I'm Ethan, and I'm Lord.
Lord.
I'm Lord.
I'm
Yeah,
Lord.
So,
Yeah.
like, whenever we're going around, are we free to interject with questions if we
Oh,
have
yeah.
them as they come up?
Yeah, of course.
Cool.
I'm gonna start with you, Nathan.
Okay.
First one's really simple. The first question is really simple. It's like, what got you into music? What was that thing?
So, man, well, I didn't start like really being serious about music until I was kind of in middle school-ish, but even then it wasn't all that serious. But it goes way further than that because actually when I was a little kid, like my dad is very old school. My dad is 63 now, so he's been around for a while, so he's got all this old music that he knows about that, you know, at the time, like even now, people like my age would usually not know that kind of like old school, like Motown, you know, that kind of stuff, like very deep cuts. And so when I was a kid, like he would always put on like a lot of like very different eclectic music. You know, we'd go from, you know, one day you'd be hearing like traditional soul stuff. Next day you'd hear like funk, like from Parliament Funkadelic or stuff like that, or then like a kind of like funk pop, like Earth, Wind and Fire. That's my dad's favorite band. And then like you'd have classical music. Maybe you'd even get into some like Broadway show tune kind of thing. So like a lot of wide spectrum of things. And I remember actually going way back, if you guys can remember, yeah, like in elementary school, I used to carry around a CD player.
Yo, that's what's up.
Yeah.
And
a little Walkman.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, man! Like, and you know, it was like one of the ones that's like a huge, like about the size of like
you carrying like a boombox on your shoulders.
No, it was not like that. No, but it was like a little like one disc CD player, and in my backpack I would like
it was like circular, like
right,
like
and I would put like, you know, like 5 CDs in my backpack every day, which sounds like super old school.
Yeah.
Now that I'm thinking about it, like, you know,
It was a better time.
Do you remember when backpacks had that?
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
The CD player
But
pocket.
it was so difficult. I was like,
And you had
who's
to, like,
putting
go
it
in
in
there
there?
on your
Who's
little cord
putting it
clip
in
it.
there?
It never worked
'Cause I
you
tried
had
it
to like
once.
zip it up and like leave the cord at the very end.
Yeah.
And sometimes you'd like it would like strip your.
Yep.
Oh, it was
But
awful.
also, if you wanted to change the CD, like I was like, man, I have to
take my
listen.
backpack.
Yeah,
off.
I'm just
Right.
like,
If I wanted to
I guess
skip
I'm
the
just gonna be
song, you
listening
had
to
to-
Backstreet Boys all
Right.
all
If
day.
you wanted to skip the song, you'd have to like swing your backpack around, open the pocket, click skip. Is that what I want? No, click skip again. And then if you're like me and Anthony, where we like skip songs like every 5
Yeah.
seconds before the song is even like halfway through, it was a real issue.
Oh my
Yeah.
god.
No, but
Especially like if you were in line too. Like
Oh, yeah.
Like those. I would always just have the person behind me be like, "Hey, can you change that for me for a second? Like just
Yeah,
unzip
They
it."
just like steal your whole
I
CD.
know, right?
I'm not hearing anything.
I was bullied actually. Never mind. No.
No, but I used to carry around that CD player all the time, and so
Yeah.
the different CDs I would have, like one was like a traditional classical music CD that had like Bach and Beethoven and all this like really famous stuff. There was another one that was like a movie score stuff, so it was like that's where I gained my obsession of all things John Williams.
Yeah.
Which, speaking of which, I don't know if you guys heard this, but he's stepping down from
Oh, yeah.
making soundtracks.
I think
No.
Star Wars-
After episode 9.
Yeah.
After episode 9, I think he's gonna retire. Yeah. Well, I mean, here's the thing, dude.
I
Like,
know he's been doing it
right
for so
before
long.
they revived Star Wars, he wasn't really doing anything. You know, I mean,
yeah, 'cause
not,
Star
not
Wars
that he,
was like
not
his
that he
baby.
needs to.
Well,
He's got
right.
all the money in the world.
No.
Yeah, but anyway, so like John Williams stuff, and then I also I was very persistent about burning my own CDs, so I'd have like a burnt CD that I made that would be like you know, like people say 8 tracks, like that was
Yeah.
before our time, but mine would be Nate tracks.
Oh my god, that's awesome.
But like N and then the letter 8, you know. And then I'd have like Michael Jackson on there. I'd have I didn't have any Prince. I wasn't hip to Prince at the time, but it was just like a wide variety of just stuff. And that got me like really interested in music. I would like just sit at recess and I'd have to ask like special permission to like bring my CD player and just like bop out to some songs during recess. And then and like a lot of music kids took piano when I was like 4, 5, and 6. Hindsight's always 20/20s, and I I quit. I had never practiced for my piano lessons, and it was just awful. It was just such a chore to get me to want to do it, and it just wasn't my my thing, you know. Fast forward to I think probably like 4th or 5th, 4th grade. My brother at the time was taking drum lessons, which is really full circle because he took lessons at a place called Drum World, and the guy who now owns Drum World is in one of the bands that I'm in.
Okay.
So we practice at Drum World all the time. So that's
what's
kind
up.
of like a weird. I probably met him before we officially met.
Right.
Which is kind of a
That's
weird.
awesome.
No, it's really kind of crazy. But I was on my. I'll never forget. I was on my way to pick up my brother from the drum lesson with my mom because she'd gotten me from school, and I was listening to. I had gotten really into like rock and roll music, and I was listening to. I think it was Aerosmith probably, and I was just like, I heard Joe Perry doing a guitar solo, and I was just like, man, that's so badass. Like I would like I can't get over it. Like I can't. So then I asked my mom in the car, like, so can I like pick up guitar? Like, I know that I quit piano, but I really want to just try some guitar. And she was like, I mean, your brother's doing drum lessons, and I mean, I guess we could try it, but just don't quit like you did piano. I don't want to pay for all this stuff in the lessons if you're not gonna
Totally understand that.
get with it. And I was like, no, I won't. And at first, guitar is kind of hard because I'm in 4th grade, so my hands are small and I'm not a big dude, and you have to build up all the calluses and stuff, and it hurt. Like, my fingers bled sometimes.
Yeah.
Just like playing too much, and it, like, the dexterity was difficult because you got all these crazy chords and stuff. You got to be very flexible.
You get arthritis and
Right, yeah. It's tough as a little kid. And even then, like, I was still like struggling with practice and stuff, but my ear was really good, like stupidly good. Like, I could pick out songs and stuff just by hearing it a couple times and like figure it out from there. So I got into lessons, and then I found a teacher that I really liked. His name was John Ford, still one of my good friends to this day. And I actually, oddly enough, play gigs with him on trumpet, and he plays I played some gigs, which is kind of another full circle moment. But he's a wonderful guy, and like, I was very dedicated to him. So like, he was such a great teacher, and when he was moving like teaching studios, I moved with him just because like that was just a thing, And I was playing guitar up until around my freshman and sophomore year of high school. And in between that time, like, I just, to be honest, one of my deep obsessions in music for a specific artist would have to be John Mayer. Yeah. And like, I know that's like not a cool thing to say anymore, but like, people don't understand, but he is a phenomenal guitarist, like stupidly good that you wouldn't even realize. The stuff that he puts on his records is not near as good as the stuff that he does live. He's one of those smart people who realizes that like the really hip stuff doesn't always sell that well, so you have to kind of like quote unquote sell out and play the poppy stuff like your body is the wonderland, like really like cheesy, but then he did an album called Battle Studies, and it was I think around 2010, and I saw him live, and it was so stupid. Like, he did a cover of Voodoo Child that was amazing by Jimi Hendrix. He did Ain't No Sunshine. He did all these throwback stuff, and like a lot of the stuff that he played wasn't even his music, but it was so good. He had such a great band, and there was a horn section, and the bass player was killing, the drummer was just insane, and it was awesome. And before, how I found him for guitar playing purposes was actually, oddly enough, on my parents' 25th anniversary. That was when Michael Jackson died. And I was huge into Michael Jackson. Huge. That was like my first big obsession. All the CDs in my CD player, like nonstop Michael Jackson. I could sing up most of his songs, like just from memory. And when he died, they did his memorial service. They streamed it on TV.
I remember that. Yeah, it was beautiful.
And John Mayer played not acoustic, but an instrumental version of a song called "Human Nature." Tell him that is human nature. Why does he do me that way? It was awesome, and it was just him. The band came in towards the very end, but it was just him playing it all on guitar, like melody and chords and all. And it was so like advanced and like just, it was mesmerizing. And I was playing guitar, and I was just like, who is this guy? Like, what? Like, how? Like, that dude's incredible. And he had an amazing solo and stuff. And I was like, okay, I gotta know who that dude is. And that's how that started. And
sweet. And Ethan, you've told me yours, and yours is really wholesome. I'm not gonna lie. Yeah. Guess you're next, buddy.
Well, for me specifically, it's kind of like, it's weird for at least for a little bit. Whenever I was a kid, sadly my parents got divorced. Yes. And for a time, I didn't even like know what I wanted to do. Like, my parents got divorced whenever I was in 4th grade. It's not a big thing, but for me at that time, I was like, man, I got depressed for a little while.
Oh yeah,
that's
obviously,
understandably so.
So I kind of took towards YouTube for a little while, and there was a specific group called Wong Fu Productions, and they do kind of like sentimental, kind of like romantic things. Not romantic, but like comedy / like rom-coms, different stuff like that. And so growing up with that, I was like constantly over at my dad's house and like, we wouldn't do crap. Like, you know what I mean? So I'm like, always on YouTube and watching different movies and just like finding what I enjoyed essentially. And so at one point I was like, these kids, because they were kids at the time,
right?
19. I mean, obviously I'm like 12. So I'm watching these guys. I'm like, I could totally do this.
Right.
This is something like, I mean, I get it. Right. And just by watching them and learning from their process, because they would document, they kind of did like a vlog, kind of mainly more of like a BTS type thing.
That's behind the scenes. For
yeah.
people
Oh yeah.
Who don't understand.
Behind the scenes. I kind of just like learned from that, and then finding other people like DSLR Guide and just like finding the voice. Yeah, Simon Cade. I love Simon, but just trying to find what I wanted to do. Yeah.
Sorry to interrupt.
Yeah, no, go ahead.
Does he still use the T3i?
Oh yeah, dude.
Because I know he's been using like Super 16 or Super.
Yeah, no, he uses Super 16 sometimes. He did that like a couple of months ago to like shoot one of his short films, which was awesome. But going back to what I was saying, there was also another movie that came out during that time, whenever I was in middle school, and it was called 500 Days of Summer. Now, I had a girlfriend at that time. Ethan did one at one point, and she broke up with me. So,
been there, done
yeah, right. So that movie, and then that movie. I don't know if you guys have ever seen that movie. It has Joseph Gordon-Levitt. Yeah,
he's like a goose.
Gordon. Yeah, it has Zooey
Wolf.
Deschanel.
Yeah.
And like in that movie,
She's awesome.
She's amazing, but she's a bitch in that movie. I'm gonna say that.
That bitch.
Yeah. Nah, but I kind of like felt like that's me, even though it wasn't. Like I was like, I had a totally different.
You
Also, I'm in middle school, like, but so yeah, like it's like what do you know? Yeah, like right. Like coming from that, like it's like, okay, this was your first girlfriend, Ethan. Yeah, it was probably the best. Yeah, like I was like, oh. The pain. Also emo music. Also emo music. A Day to Remember. Oh, they get me.
A Day to Remember.
Right?
Oh wow.
Black Veil Brides. A Day to Remember. Falling in Reverse. Man.
Oh, Falling in Reverse.
Yeah.
Okay, sorry,
dude.
Memory lane. All right, go ahead.
No, emo stuff, man. It was a hell of a time. But that movie stuck with me, and I would watch it every night. Not because of just that, but mainly because that storytelling. For me, it was very powerful, and I found my voice during that thing. And also, and you always hate this because I bring it up whenever I'm writing. You always go, dude, this is depressing. Like all of my stuff. But I feel that you get a more of a legitimate context of just anybody's life, not just me personally, but just like I love to make people feel like something.
Right.
And I feel that that's what you get with that. Yeah.
So through finding that kind of passion, like segueing from YouTube into that, and you can feel free to answer this too, Anthony. Like me playing guitar and like being involved with music eventually led to me playing the trumpet, which has now kind of turned into like a career for me, and where I make money doing that, and then like that's like my main thing. So like in those different stages of like the YouTube and all that, how did 500 Days of Summer and stuff kind of transform that passion into something that you work with now? Because like whenever I was doing guitar, I was just doing it. You know, and just because I really, really liked it, and it didn't become like a real focused thing until I was able to kind of put a lens on it. So I'm like, how did that kind of evolve?
Well, with the 500 Days of Summer thing, it was more of just like, I like that genre. That was my type of thing. Like I can write, that type of story because I could relate to it from experience, but just because I enjoy that type of thing. Like, I mean, even though it's kind of like a negative vibe, I like negative vibes like for that because it makes you grow as a person. You figure out things with that negativity. I mean, it's always, I do put positive things into it, but I digress. But mainly with specifically that YouTube channel, Wong Fu Productions.
Are they still around?
Yeah. Oh, they made their their very first like actual film. It was like fully produced and everything. It's actually on Netflix. It was it came out like.
Are you talking about Gook or?
No, it's called Everything Before Us or something like that. But they make short films still, and just the power behind that. Because like how I said before, these kids, they were just like, in high school making videos. And I was like, I could do that. That's the thing that brought me to it, is that these kids, they're making something, they're enjoying it. They're making these movies that mean something, at least to me, or to other people, I suppose. Because the context of every story that they had was relevant, I felt, in my scenario or situation at that time. But for me, I forgot what I was trying to answer the question.
So what all led up to you,
What all led up to that?
What all led up to like start making videos? Like at this point you've made your first video,
right?
So from there, what led you to?
What led me to wanting to make more films and just like that was I came up with a story. This movie that we did for TV production. It was the summer that we actually started.
Was that the one that was like unfinished and I got sick?
No. I didn't. Well, I knew of you. And I also knew of you. I didn't know you at that time. This is like our summer project. I had been trying to figure out. I was like, I'm gonna come in. I'm gonna do this. Funny thing is, even after I did it, couldn't export
I
it. Didn't
remember
know how to
that.
do any of that crap.
Yeah, I remember that.
But like I showed it to our teacher at the time, and she was like, "This is really good. Like you need to show this to the class." Sadly, I was never able to. Like everybody watched
Was
it
this in
on
high school?
Yeah, I was in high school.
So what teacher was that?
It was a tech.
Oh,
So
Oh,
Miss
okay. So
Piper.
not. I wouldn't.
Yeah, no. But Asher actually helped a lot with that too, because
Love
he
that
had
man.
that
He's still a meme.
that film. No, I see
Yeah,
it on
yeah.
Tumblr all the time or like Facebook.
It's so great that he like kind of got like.
Is he still here, by the
think he
way?
deserves it.
I think he moved. I think he's
Okay.
in another state.
Yeah,
I'm
he's
not
like in
sure.
Missouri or something.
Hi Asher.
Yo, what's up? Hit us up. I forgot what I was saying. I'm sorry.
Show your movie to the
Oh
thing.
yeah, I showed the movie and to the teacher, and I guess that positivity was like that was my push, because that was the first thing that I'd ever made, and it was kind of my baby.
Where you kind of realize like, oh, people enjoy.
Yeah,
What I'm
and
doing.
also like I was like, it's not just me that's like that could see that this is I can do this,
Right.
You know, or that there's an idea there.
Right. Don't let me forget. Once you
Yeah, go
guys
ahead.
are done, I have a question that I just thought of
Mhm.
that I think is kind of important, and I think it kind of relates to all of us. So just don't let
Yeah.
me forget.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, do you want to say it now or?
Well, because I want to wait until he finishes.
Okay. Yeah. Okay.
Kind of get
Um,
everyone's information here.
Right. And so for me specifically, I'm like, you know, this is what I want to do.
Mhm.
I want to change. I want to make people feel something.
Right.
Just like how they did for me. You know, and that's kind of, you know,
Mhm.
giving back to the community or whatever you want to call it.
And didn't Reggie
So-
help you with that video?
Yeah.
Mhm.
Geiger?
It was Geiger.
Mhm.
It was him, his brother, and me. And it was essentially we were trying to make a podcast.
Right.
And it was it was kind of cool because we had actually been talking about it like months during
Right.
my junior year.
Yeah.
And then I was like, that would be like a really good movie. And just like putting in jokes and just like everything, trying to make it like super serious, but also have a comedy side aspect to it. It was
Mhm.
just like, yeah, this totally works. Let's go. Like, cause it was something real. It wasn't like, oh, I'm making like a secret agent thing or like something like that. And I'm not like downing on those types of movies, but for me, I'm like more of like, I want it to feel like this is something that's real for
Right.
people to watch. And so, that's kind of what just keeps pushing me even now today. So
Right on.
yeah,
What's up,
to
man?
improve. What about you? Cause
Well,
we kind of have like a similar,
yeah. Okay. So I'm gonna start from when I was a little kid.
yeah, go ahead.
It was my mom was a single mom, and we lived with my aunts and my grandpa in our house, and she always really sheltered me. So and there's a lot of things I couldn't watch or do.
That was my parents too.
yeah.
Yeah.
But my mom, she's really big into movies, and at one point she wanted to be a soap writer, but I kind of came here, so she couldn't do that.
Yo,
anymore.
that's what's up though.
Yeah.
That's kind of cool.
So at that point, when we did watch things, it was Spielberg stuff.
Yeah.
And it
He's
got
so
me.
great.
Great route to go.
Yeah, and that's where I was introduced. First, I was introduced to Star Wars,
Mhm.
and that just like watching that my mind was just blown. I remember the first one I watched was Phantom Menace.
I think that was like everybody, like at least for me as
Who's
well.
the annoying guy in that movie?
I don't know.
The guy with the big ears?
Mace-
Like Qui-Gon?
No, he's got like a. There's
Oh, me!
Oh my gosh.
Yes.
screaming into the mic.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I didn't check.
So,
Man, he should have his own movie.
mm,
Not Jar Jar. Iwata, yeah.
Oh, please.
no.
See him gambling all the
Dude,
time.
we could totally make one.
Iwata
Dude, that would be
movie.
amazing.
But so from there, I
It would
was
be called "What Are You Doing?" A Star Wars story.
what are you doing?
What are you doing? Oh my gosh. Yes.
No.
Oh.
Hey, Wada, you want to make this movie? No, I won't. Okay, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Oh yeah, so I started with Phantom Menace, and then I'm
Mhm.
like, man, I wish there were more of these. My mom's like, well, there is.
Throws down 5 more movies.
Yeah, pretty much that's how it went down. Well, no, my
Yeah.
uncle, he's the one who's like, because he's a big nerd. He's been a big, huge influence in my life, and he's got his own comic book stuff he does.
Family is very close to my family. My uncle
Yeah.
was like the big comic book nerd
Oh,
guy
yeah?
too. Yeah, and my mom is who got me into music.
It's like we figure out like, what we're related. It's like you were literally like behind my back the whole time. We were like back to back, like the entire life.
Cousin Anthony. What?
Whoa. No, but so he got me watching all these Star Wars films, and like, man, like my mind was like blown. I never would have imagined anything like that.
Right.
Even at my age as
Like
a
a
kid.
space opera, crazy.
Yeah.
Like, yeah.
And I loved it. I loved it with all my heart. And then
Jar Jar happened.
yeah. And then freaking that's when Indiana Jones came into my life, and that was another big influence. And when I was a kid, I loved toys because the main thing I love was like making up stories, with all my characters and all that.
Always.
And I think that kind of sparked, me wanting to be a filmmaker. Because I didn't like to read. I still really don't, except comics.
I don't think anybody does.
But so getting older, my uncle, he's all like, "You really need to watch this show," and you guys are gonna make fun of me. But it's called Dragon Ball, and I'm like, that sounds dumb. And then he's like, "No, you really need to watch it." And I'm like, I don't think my mom's gonna let me watch that. So he begged and begged her and begged and begged and begged her, and she finally let me. And that point, man, it was done. It was over with.
That was it. Like that was
that was the point where I was like, I'm gonna be a filmmaker because Dragon Ball is so much more than what people think.
Oh yeah.
It's literally it's a show that has every single genre mixed in, but it all works so well, and you literally like each sketch you see on there is literally Toriyama's. That's his imagination. And it's just everything on there is just his. And it's beautiful and it's beloved by everyone. Well, mostly everyone. And
excluding GT.
And because he has his own style.
Right.
Well, he didn't really do GT.
Oh, he did? Okay, I thought he did.
That's probably why it wasn't all that.
Right, that's true. Yeah.
Yeah. And that's why I'm the big nerd about Dragon Ball, because that's what really started me up. So,
no, I totally get that.
As I got older, I got into writing. And I remember one day it was like this little assignment, and I was like, because my whole school experience, that's a whole nother story. I'll get into that a little later. It was like, I think I was like fourth or fifth grade, and like it was a writing assignment. I didn't really understand it, so I just ended up writing my own story. And then my teacher called me up one day. She's like, "Anthony, did you write this?" And I'm like, "Well, my name's on it."
Yeah. I'm like, is your name on it?
Yeah,
No.
because I thought I was in trouble. She's like, "No, this is great, Anthony. Like,
awesome.
did you just now come up with this?" I'm like, "Yeah. I mean, it took me a few minutes." She's like, "You gotta, you've got something, kid." And I'm like, "Well, okay." So from
That's
there,
awesome, though.
from then on, I'm like, I'm gonna keep writing. So you guys are the first to hear this, but when I was a kid, when I got older, I was like in middle school. I was like, you know what? I'm gonna write the great American superhero film.
Oh, that's awesome.
And I called it the Silver Bullet.
Okay.
I had
Like, believe it or not, that show.
No. This is like my own guy. This is my own guy. Yeah.
You know what I'm talking about, right?
Yeah, I know what you're talking about. Yeah.
Where he like doesn't know how to fly. I never thought I could feel so free.
Oh my God, brings me back.
That show, that's a deep cut show.
Yeah.
I thought that's what you were talking about. I was like, no way you know about that show.
No, that's actually years later. I was like, oh wow. I hope I didn't copy anyone. But it was Silver Bullet because I made him a black superhero because I'm like, we don't see enough of those.
Right.
That's another reason why I like Black Panther, because I've got a black hero now.
That and Static Shock were big things for me.
Oh yeah.
Static Shock on Kids WB every Saturday morning.
Oh yeah.
That was a big deal.
I'm gonna shock your system.
Right.
But yeah, so
him and his like little white nerdy friend. Gear.
Yeah. So then I started writing Silver Bullet. I swear I think I had 10 movies I wrote out of that. And it got a little bit much, so then I was like, you know what, I'll just condense it down to like 6. So then I scrapped all that and rewrote all of it. And when I got older, and I currently am rewriting it again only just because, I want to see how far, I came.
Right.
But yeah, so yeah, that was, that's what I spent most of my time doing, was just writing that and writing other stuff. And, I let my mom see, she's like, wow, that's good. And then, then I'm like, you know what? This still isn't quite what I want to do with my life. So then that's when the Movieman 37
Hey,
started.
there you go.
That was my first YouTube channel, and I still have it. We should all watch my stuff.
Okay.
This is all cringy.
Oh, he's looking it up already.
But yeah, so I will never forget, my first video I ever did was me dancing to Single Ladies. And it looked so bad because I'd gotten this little Samsung digital camera for Christmas.
Yeah.
And I was like, you know what? I'm gonna make something, and I didn't have.
You made something.
I
Yeah.
swear, I think that
That's
thing
awesome,
has like
though.
400 views on it. It got like or 200.
You now have 8 subscribers. I just subscribed.
Hey. Oh, you
Hey.
found it, so it's still up.
Oh my gosh. No. Okay. Well, we'll save that for later.
Copyright.
Yeah. Oh yeah. I
Yeah.
had a lot of copyright violations.
Yeah.
But yeah. So then I started sharing that to everyone. Everyone's like, "Oh my god, this is hilarious. This is great."
Summer
It's a-
X Games 2010.
Yeah. So yeah, then I made so many. I made like one called "Creeper in My Closet." That's when I was like a creep and I like kidnapped kids. Well, looking back, it sounds bad.
Yeah, it does.
And then the Summer X Games. That was like that was
Are we just gonna gloss over that?
No, I would just.
the Summer Cringe Fest. That's what I call it. So yeah, I mean, I started doing that, but that was after the fact of
Right.
Facebook parody, Crazy Black
Yeah, oh
Kids,
God.
Doogie or
Dougie.
Dougie,
Dougie.
excuse me.
Oh yeah, and I used to do dancing stuff too.
Okay.
But that was after the fact when my father had passed away.
Right.
He wasn't my real father because I didn't know my real father at the time. I just met him like
Once
a few
again,
years ago.
that's just kind of weird because I was adopted twice, so I don't know my real
Oh,
parents. We're the same person.
guess
We're
what?
related.
It's
Confirmed.
done. It's done. So yeah, so then because when he passed away, you know, I felt like you know this is my fault. You know, I just felt terrible. I felt like it
Right.
was all my doing, but
Which
and
it
then
wasn't, by the way.
Yeah,
So.
and then I had this terrible temper for like the longest. But but the only thing that could calm that down is if I watched a movie. And
Right.
my mom would always take me to go see movies. You know, she'd leave my sisters at home. She'd be like, you know, just me and you. We're gonna go see a movie. And honestly, that was that you know, fuck.
Take your time. It's fine.
And that's what I kind of want to do with my films. I kind of want to just help people like that because I mean,
Yeah.
I was at like a dark time in my life, and just being able to just leave for a little bit, even if it's just for like an
Yeah.
hour and a half, just makes the difference. And you know, I don't want anyone to ever feel like I did, man. There's so much that you know that happened, you know, in between then, and and yes, I do want to make films, you know, for myself, but I also, you know, I want to make sure everyone can get something, you know,
Yeah.
out of it. You know, you can either hate it so much that you know want to watch like the Sharknado movies,
Yeah.
or you can just, you know, whatever, man. You really appreciate it, see deeper
Enjoy.
meanings. But yeah, I mean, that's what I really want to do. I mean, because this world, it's crazy,
Yeah.
Mhm.
but it's always great to just get out. And I have. I don't want to do action per se, but I want there to be action, and
Right.
then like I just want to have like unexplainable things happen, you know. And I'm trying to mold my style because I watch all these people like Tarantino, Spielberg, you know, just all of them, and everyone has their own style. So I guess and kind of find out what I am in this industry. Pretty
Right.
much.
Yeah. That's
So
awesome.
yeah, deep.
Yeah. No. Yeah. No. I totally feel you on that because I was like,
Y'all woke yet?
yeah, I know, right? I forgot to say one thing though.
Yeah.
Boy Meets World was a really big inspiration for me as well.
Boy Meets World was
'cause
great.
I know.
Yeah.
Well, like, okay, you always joke with me about Girl Meets World
Yeah.
because I will say this. No, I'm gonna say this on.
Nailed it.
I'm finally gonna say this like on recording. But whenever they canceled Girl Meets World, I think you know this story. I called Netflix and was on the phone for like 2 hours, being
No
like,
way.
"Hey, could you like?" Because they were
Excuse me.
yeah,
Bring it back.
like no, but I was like, save us.
I was asked for the manager. He's like, "Can I speak to your manager, please?"
No, with the hands on.
He's got his little Bluetooth.
Excuse me.
headset
Are
in.
you Mr. Netflix? I don't understand. Why'd you take away my show?
No, but okay, so
Oh
Disney
my
was
God.
going to be canceling it,
Right.
and I felt like it was one of those
You
shows.
felt cheated.
Well, no, because
Why
like,
are they doing this?
Boy Meets World was a
God
very
damn it, Sharon.
like impactful thing in my childhood, and I was like, a lot of these kids don't have that,
Right.
and I felt like this one was at least, yeah, it was dorky, it was cheesy, it had its like stupid things with it, but it still had the elements of Boy Meets World, just in a different cover.
I'd say that's one of the best sequels.
Exactly. And I'm not getting into this, but because I will go on about it.
Oh God.
But yeah, no, I called up Netflix, and I was even calling like some of my family members. I was like, Emily, yo, will you do this one thing
Did you
for
hear
me?
what this bitch said about you?
No, but she goes, I was like, this is the actual phone call. I go, ring. Hey. Yeah. Being my sister. And I go, hey, so I need you to do something for me. She was like, yeah, sure. What is it? I was like, okay, you're going to laugh, but can you call this number? I'm going to send it to you. It's the Netflix hotline. And I need you to be like, hey, I would like you to recommend our Netflix to pick up Girl Meets World. And she was like, Ethan, are you seriously trying to do that? I was like,
Do you have Hulu?
Yeah.
There you go.
What? No, I just wanted them to continue it because they stopped after like.
But that's not their show.
But the thing was,
Disney show.
I know, but they were having. If you followed their Twitter for
Correct.
yeah,
Get no scope.
there and had notifications on. It said that they were doing dealings with Netflix and all that stuff. So what is that?
There was something floating on
They
this.
were like, get out of here
outta
with
here.
that, bitch. But yeah.
Okay.
So I would say, that was very impactful for me as well.
Yeah, I understand that.
Yeah.
And so I guess we all have our things. You got John Mayer,
Mayor.
John Mayer.
Toe Mater, and then we got Girls Meets World, and then we got Dragon Ball.
Sure, yeah.
So hey,
Everyone's guilty pleasures.
Or Boy Meets World.
No, while everyone was talking, I wrote down like just 2 questions that are probably going to be kind of lengthy conversations.
Okay.
But
I'm down for that.
Okay, so my first question is, when people are kids, there's like there's a reason why they call it like a childlike sense of wonder. A lot of kids haven't been really, like young kids aren't really exposed to a lot of the real world yet, so they don't have any preconceived notions of what they can or can't do. So that's why, there's always like the obligatory conversations when you're little, like, what do you want to be when you grow up? Oh, I want to be a rock star. I want to be a director. I want to be a world-renowned chef. I want to like all these huge things that are just like, right. I want to be a Girl Meets World.
I want to work at Taco Bell.
I want to be Sean.
No, but and there's like an uninhibited like sense of like I can do it, that I can do it attitude no matter what it is. You just work hard,
Right.
Yeah. And when you get older, people tell you or make you think that that's not true. So my question is, do you guys feel like growing up, that kind of society, the people around you, made you think that you couldn't achieve your dreams as a kid, no matter what, no matter what you did? Like for me, obviously for any musician, the goal is to be on someone's band that's really huge, to be touring and like making money and all that stuff. But if you are in music school or you're in just studying music or playing music as a young musician, people tell you all the time you can't make it. All the time, which I feel like if you are really passionate about something and something really like moves you, I feel like you owe it to yourself to at least try. Because I would much rather be like, I tried and it didn't work out than, I probably should have tried it when I had the chance. Yeah. So since we all follow kind of different paths, because I know that I kind of felt that way.
The path of the warrior.
The path of the rat. Anyway, but like, do you guys feel the same way? Like people kind of like growing up, you thought that you couldn't do it, and now that you're starting to get older and things are happening, like I don't know.
Do you want to start, or because I would say most definitely.
I would like to quote Drake on this.
All right.
You didn't like me back then, but how about now?
Ooh,
because I'm up right now.
That's good. All right.
No, there's a different.
All right,
song
next
I was gonna
question.
quote.
Yeah. Well,
you can go
okay.
ahead,
Yeah, I kind of feel like that question is I've had people be like, "Oh, you're not gonna make it,"
Right.
and to me at least, I feel like that's kind of your idea of what you think is making it.
Well, because it's coming from someone else's mouth.
Yes.
That like may or may not know exactly what it takes to make that happen. So.
Right. Yeah, and I also like, for example, and I think from an outside perspective, it's like whenever we think of like musicians or directors or writers like Aaron Sorkin, or like I always think of like Aaron Sorkin. He's made it. That's what most people think outside is that, oh, you've made it if you're making, Zuckerberg type money or
Right.
like,
Right.
just like,
Like all these famous like A-list actors.
Exactly.
And stuff like that, yeah.
but in a sense, it's like if you're just being happy with what you're doing,
Right.
you've made it.
Yeah.
You took
And
the words right out of my mouth.
Yeah, and I really love, like, all of us have like this, like we were talking about, Anthony said it pretty clearly, we all have a lot of different interests and stuff, so it's interesting to hear like
Right.
our origin stories. But the one thing that's huge that we all have in common is that the things that we do bring joy to others, and that's what we
Exactly.
look for
Yeah.
more than like, oh, I wish I could make millions of dollars like selling records and
Yeah.
being on tour with people, whatever. But the best times that I've had are when, like, I remember, I'll never forget it. I played a show with a group that I'm in called Weston Horn and the Hush, and we played at Kane's Ballroom,
Yeah.
and it was like a cancer benefit thing.
Mm-hmm.
It was not big. I don't think we got paid for that, but we were just doing it just because it was something awesome to do for these kids and for like cancer research and fundraising and stuff. And the show was amazing. Like,
Right.
first of all, it's at Kane's Ballroom. That's a pretty serious venue.
Yeah. Amazing people have played there.
Right,
Oh, yeah.
right. Huge famous people. I saw Pentatonics there right before they blew up. It
that's
was
what's up.
amazing. So I got to be on that stage that a lot of famous people have been on. And after that show was over, we played really, really great just because, there was no pressure to do anything, whatever. And it was amazing that you can go on Facebook and look up, like, there was, like, lights. And it looked like a real big production.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And then after that, people were just like, you guys are amazing. Like, and there was this one lady who I talked to. I was standing by, we had like a merch table in case someone wanted to buy stuff.
Buy my merch.
Buy my merch. Fanjoy.com.
Low gang.
Oh, please.
Gang.
No, but I was standing next to the table, I was kind of tired because we just got done playing and stuff. And this lady came up and she was like, you were just in that band. I was like, yeah, I play the trumpet. And she was like, I know you're not like the lead singer or anything, but I just had to tell one of you because I think the other guys were still packing up stuff. She was like, you guys are amazing. And I've had kind of a rough week, and just being able to come here and just enjoy and have a good time for like a couple hours with all these bands playing really put me in a way better mood than when I came in the door today.
That's good.
And like that means, like, that will always mean so much more to me than like, you see my paycheck? My paycheck?
Right. Yeah.
No,
I totally
exactly.
understand that.
And
Yeah.
music really has a way of, and that goes back into like what you guys want to do with movies and film and TV and stuff. All of those things can transport you to a certain place. I went through some rough stuff a couple of years ago, and the only thing that kept my sanity in check was being able to escape all that through music and different kinds of music.
Sure.
Yeah. Also, kind of like add on to what you were saying earlier about people doubting you and all that.
I got a list. Okay.
It would have been funny if it would have been like, going back to what you were saying, I really don't think you can do it, man. Like, I think you should just cut out now and just
I've been sidebar. Yeah. You're not.
maybe you might
You're
want to get
done.
a different career, bro.
Yeah. Right. Yeah.
You ever heard of Taco Bell? They need some new managers. No.
Yeah.
But like, see, and like, so if people doubting us, but we still try it.
Yeah.
I think that's a very good learning
Oh yeah.
technique. That's
Oh,
very
yeah.
good.
You gotta
Like,
be thick-skinned.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Which I'm not sometimes. But
But that's
I remember
okay, though. Like, I mean, like,
No. There's a point
know,
where
that's
everyone's like,
fine.
well, that hurts, but it's not gonna stop me
Yeah.
from keeping
Exactly.
continue.
as long as it doesn't keep you down.
Right.
And this is for anything, like not even just like what we're doing,
Right.
but just like anything that
you
are.
gotta be able to
like,
be resilient.
yeah.
have a, like
You're
be
gonna
a- be
figure
the
it out.
rebound guy.
Oh,
You'll figure it out.
Yeah. So like I remember when I was doing that one competition.
The Skills USA.
Yeah.
Okay.
I remember, man. It was sucking because like Piper she didn't think we were gonna make it,
Mhm.
and then we got all the shitty equipment.
Yeah. I remember that. Yeah.
We got all the bad equipment, but
Yeah.
we still tried.
Yeah.
And we were like, okay, we're gonna aim for third because we were looking around the room and we saw everyone had all these amazing equipment. and
Yeah,
all
like
that.
there were some like even like reds in there, like stuff
Yes.
that like
Yeah.
we could not
I
ever
saw
think
Black
of.
Magic.
Yeah,
too.
Black Magics. Yeah.
Yeah, and I'm like, Kiwan, we're gonna be lucky if we get third.
Yeah, because like weren't you guys using like a T5i or something?
no, we didn't even use a DSLR.
Oh, it wasn't a DSLR.
no, we had like our little stupid little Sony one.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So I'm like,
Those
Kiwan,
things were awful.
yeah, we're gonna try and get third. Okay, we're not gonna get first, but we're gonna get third. And I didn't even, I used Sony Vegas. I wasn't even using her stuff
Right.
because she didn't have any more of that.
Right.
So so we tried our best and all that, and we went to the ceremony, and they were like, they were announcing the names, and So the third went to someone else, and we're like, oh, damn it, we didn't even get close. And then they did second, then they did first, and I was like, oh shit, that's us.
Well, no, because
I got first.
It
Yeah,
was
we got first,
hilarious because
yeah.
we're all like just kind of like, oh crap, what's gonna happen? Because I hadn't been called. A lot of people hadn't been called.
Yeah.
So I remember I was sitting right next to you, and you're just like, here we go. Like,
because it was taking so long to get to our
no,
competition.
it was very much so. 'Cause I think ours was actually the very last thing that they said, and then you guys won, and that was like, even though that like personally I didn't win because I was with another teammate. You know, it was still like an awesome time to see that, because I was like, yo, that's freaking awesome.
Yeah, but we lost going against the country though.
Yeah, but you still got there. Like,
actually, here's the thing: we got 8th place, but there was like 50 other teams.
Right.
This is like this was a national competition. The next one I did. So I mean, guess 8th
was the first one like a regional thing.
Kind of like. I mean, we had some people from like Kansas and Arkansas as well.
They're
all there was at least one Arkansas.
Even then though.
So that was farther than I thought. I thought it was just.
Yeah, it was weird because there was like Arkansas Tech or something. I was like, what the heck's that?
Even then though, like just to be like in that kind of public eye is a huge deal.
Yeah, and then I got to meet some people that were doing
Spielberg.
Dude, that would be amazing.
Yeah, but it was a great time. We were gone for like a week during the whole national convention, which the downfall I think that I had in that was I was thinking, I have to have the best equipment, and I have to, because back then I was just thinking about story when we were, doing the state competition.
Right.
But here I was like, you know what, I need to make it look good. That was my downfall. So. Yeah. But it is what it is, and then the next year we did the news broadcasting one, and no one competed in that, so we automatically went to nationals, and then we won nationals because we were going against like a few other teams, though.
Right.
But it's like people always doubt you.
Yeah.
And no matter what you're doing, and it's just like I'm not saying you shouldn't listen to them. That's the thing.
Right.
I think you
like
should.
Be cautious.
You should.
Well, I feel like there's kind of a balance between it because, like, for example, you have to be realistic. But then also yet have still that dream, because it's like
there's a definite fine line there.
Like, for example, we have some friends that I left the technical institute that I was at during like halfway through. And one of the reasons of being that was because I was like, I feel like I'm not learning what I need to be learning at this moment.
Did you move to a different?
No, I kind of quit, but I kept up with the curriculum in my own sense. Like I was like,
on your own
I need to do more film rather than broadcast or whatever and what have you. Yeah. Well, okay. You guys had some fight about it with me on that. I know that there were some like aspects that had film still, but it was still to the extent of, for me personally.
My thing is that it's good to be well-rounded,
Right. No, I totally understand that.
Because I know a lot of filmmakers came from TV.
Right.
And I mean, and I do understand what you're talking about. You want to learn more film than you do TV.
Right.
Which
a lot of filmmakers even still do TV stuff.
Yeah, no, but I totally understand that. But like for newscasting, like I was like, I felt like for me personally, I got it down. I understood it. I was put out there with it, and I was like, okay, I think I'm done. I need to hone in on what I need for me personally.
I kind of felt the same way when I came into college, because as someone who wants to be a professional musician and do studio stuff and help people with their albums and hopefully tour with people and with my own groups that I'm involved with, it was kind of a weird, I don't want to say awakening, but it was just kind of frustrating for me when I started college, because I was like, okay, so you did 12 years of general education, and now finally I'm able to study what I really want to study, like in depth, and I can finally just like work on my craft. Right. But they're still having me do all this gen ed stuff, and there's a lot of kind of like hoops you got to jump through that almost seem a little unnecessary. Sure. But the thing that I gained out of that was realizing how like behind I was, and a lot of it is due in part to the fact that not only did I start trumpet really late, but TSAS, our high school that we all went to, didn't set me up for that. They had no classical things. So with actual technique and the study of my instrument and being a good technician on what I was trying to do, it was just non-existent. Yeah. So I'm still playing catch up with that kind of stuff even today with my sight reading and my being able to play classically, just to be a well-rounded player. And even though like I'm not a great classical trumpet player, I can still do it when I need to.
Yeah.
Right.
So, I understand that to
Yeah.
an extent, but I am a huge advocate, like you said, for being well-rounded. I mean, there are certain things that I like more, like
Right.
like funk and pop music, and I don't know. I think more like movie score music
Right.
is what I really really enjoy.
Yeah.
But it's still good to kind of be able to do it all.
Right.
And I don't know. People don't seem to be all that well-rounded anymore,
I
as
feel-
much as they should be.
I've got a good question for you guys.
Yeah.
I forgot it.
Sure.
Damn.
I have another one. If you,
Damn. Okay. So what kind of helps you guys like kind of prepare yourselves? Okay. So like Ethan, like when you come up with ideas,
Yes.
what processes do you do to help you? And also you,
Processes.
Nathan, when you
A lot of
when you
drinking.
do your music,
No.
what do you do that'll get you prepared?
like in what kind of a sense?
Yeah.
Damn it.
That's kind of a vague. It's a very vague thing.
Damn it, because I forgot
Are
my.
you talking about like writing, or are you talking about like how to execute different kinds of projects?
Your ideas,
like,
or
Well, like what? Okay, what do you do to your mind to? God, see, I had it with me, but I forgot it.
what do you do to get into the mindset of what you're trying to
like
execute?
draw inspiration from? that
Yeah,
kind of
yeah,
thing?
yeah, yeah.
Okay.
You're wrong.
Okay.
Okay.
Well, for me, I would say it's like a vast majority of like music, just like what I listen
Damn it.
to. What?
It's my favorite.
I think it's everybody's thing. I mean, I don't feel like there's like one thing really that's like, oh, it's music, or it's this film, or this video game that I'm playing. I feel like it's a take in all and just take what I feel kind of helps me in that moment. I mean, it depends on like what project I'm working on.
Yeah.
But one of the foundations that I do for specifically if I'm writing something, I try to get in that mindset of that person. So I start, like one time I was doing a story about a kid with Asperger's and trying to deal with a certain situation that he had. So I started researching it and
Try to
just
put yourself
watching
in
it,
the
and
shoes of-
actually I started acting like the person,
Yeah.
not like publicly,
It's
but
very method of you.
yeah, trying just to see how I would react, or just to even figure out like whether or not if I was working with an actor or trying to tell somebody how this person is,
Right.
I need to know how this person's gonna react to
What that
anything.
experience
And that,
would
yeah,
actually be like.
exactly.
Yeah.
So I feel like that's one thing specifically that I use with everything that I do.
Okay. Interessante. What about you, Nick?
Kind of in the same vein of that kind of way of thinking, I feel like for musicians, especially if you are, whether you're a lyricist and you like songwriting, or even if you're writing for instrumental things, or you just have different ideas, I feel like, and you might identify with this as well, Ethan,
Okay.
like it just happens.
Yeah.
You know, like, and that's a really cliche thing to say, like, oh, well, just, it hit me, you know, when I had to write my lyrics down on the bus, you know,
Yeah.
like, I was on the train, and I heard, you know, it's like, it, and
Somebody called me a bitch. I got it.
you was a bitch, like, no, but it's never like anything as cliche as that, but usually you might hear like a little snippet of a song that you're like, that was so tight. Like, how could you expand that and make that into something bigger? Or like, you know, and sometimes like I remember I was listening to a song and I was like, man, I like the way the song like kind of grooves and feels. And I knew that I wanted to do something that kind of like had that same kind of like groovy, like old school, but new school kind of vibe.
Right.
And I immediately was like kind of messing around with like some lyrics that I heard in my head. And then I wrote them down. Like they're on my phone right now. And it's like, and I'm still working on it, you know?
Yeah.
And I think things kind of progress like that. Another thing that I think kind of helps is like going back to the whole being well-rounded thing. Like musically, I would be remiss if I didn't acknowledge the existence of maybe music that I'm not all that fond of. You know, a lot of musicians and people in general, you know, they'll be like, oh, I love rap music. Well, what do you listen to any other kinds of music? Nah, because that shit sucks.
Yeah, yeah.
Exactly.
I don't-
Exactly.
Which,
Yeah.
which is
very
like
open.
you're cutting yourself off from a lot of great stuff.
Exactly.
And one place where I feel like that's especially applicable is in classical music. You know, we have a great organization with the Tulsa Symphony that like most people our age wouldn't even like care about because it's classical music and it's not all that interesting. But as a young person, there are ways to make that interesting. In this past fall, in 2017, they showed Harry Potter and the Sorcerer's Stone, and they showed the entire movie while the orchestra played all of the musical cues. The whole movie. Like I went to I got to sneak into their rehearsal because my trumpet teacher is the executive director over there. So I went to their rehearsal and I got to see the whole movie from start to finish with like a couple of like little breaks and pauses to like work on some stuff. But it was amazing. Like you had this director who's like watching the movie, and there are cues that happen at certain times, and there's like a big timer. You know, it's like it's insane, and it's really really cool. And like and originally it was supposed to be just one show. They had to add 4 other shows because it sold out that quick, and people loved it so much. And that's a great way to get people involved in something. I feel like people who say they don't like something, like, you know, people say, oh, I don't like vegetables. You know, like I hate vegetables. Yeah. Well, like, have you tried all the different ways to like prepare vegetables?
You steam some stuff,
right? And find
that
like
stuff's tight.
or like saute, put them in a wok or something. I don't know.
Sure.
Like try things a lot of different ways, and then you might end up liking it.
I don't know. I may not like vegetables.
Well, it's like, you know, like what's a good example from like a movie? Well, like The Incredibles. You know, The Incredibles 2 is coming out soon, and the orchestration for that movie is kind of different. It's like a jazz but also symphonic orchestra.
Right.
You know, that's a kind of a not a strange pairing of things, but it's different. It doesn't really happen all that much anymore. And that music is insanely good.
Oh, it's great.
And you can just sing ba ba beep 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 boo doo beep boop boo wee, and people will be like, oh, okay, yeah, I get it. I know what you're talking about. And that kind of connection.
Where's my super suit?
You had to tell me what my super suit is.
Talking about the greater good. No. But it's like that kind of connection and that kind of feeling about music and being well rounded and finding things that you like really help kind of get inspiration, from a variety of ways. You know, help bring inspiration to musicians and people and people who want to write and direct things and stuff like that. So I feel like finding a lot of different things to draw from really, really helps. Yeah. And it expands, I think, your artistic mind, I think.
Exactly, yeah.
I know that sounds very like like expand your artistic mind, bro.
Oh.
Weed every
Dude, I'm
day.
like tripping.
No. Yeah.
That's what's up.
Yeah.
All right.
Actually, I had another question. So I remember, Ethan, when you were talking about your background, you mentioned how it's kind of hard to find like what you wanted to do. Yeah. Like how to find your voice exactly. And there's so much content nowadays. Everyone's got like just pumping out like all this content, whether it's music, movies, TV, you know, radio, podcast, everything. It's just there's so much to go on. You know, it's 2018. Most of the things that are original have probably been done already. Right. If not, I mean, you got to reach pretty far, you know, to find something that's unique and new.
Or just find something from like super far. Oh,
right. Like, you know, so like
trending,
as someone as filmmakers and like writer, director type people in this day and age, how do you guys try to find your voice amongst all this other stuff where it's easy to be like, oh man, Bruno Mars just dropped that album. I really like how that sounds. I want to try to make an album like that. As opposed to going like, I like what he did and he took it and spun it on his own. And how do I make my music and put my spin on it as opposed to trying to make it someone else's brand? You know what I'm saying?
I feel like it's kind of like that.
That's a good
question. Because that's kind of like what you're saying. For instance, so my first short film I did was a zombie flick. And that was the time where everyone was doing zombies. But I was thinking, you know, how can I make mine a little different from theirs? Because that's pretty much what everyone does. Right. Because, you know, everyone's made a cowboy movie. Everyone's made a spy movie. But we all try to make it in our
Nobody's
own.
made a space cowboy movie.
A cowboy spy zombie movie.
Hey, he's got it.
Yeah, there you go.
Boom.
You just keep adding stuff. That's essentially what happens.
Okay, so check this out. Cowboy spy zombies in space.
Brilliant. Lightsabers.
But that's been done. But he's a ninja.
Oh, no! Just flip table.
Also, he has superpowers. So much.
But so it's kind of like what you said. I mean, we all, you know, like I said, you know, there's all these cowboy spy movies, but we all make it in our own voice. Right? Yeah. Like me, I like to, you know, I like to have little twists and turns in the end. I like, you know, to make things that are unexpected.
M. Night Shyamalan.
Right. He's getting back into it a little bit.
He seems to flip flop between like being amazing and being.
Yeah, I know. Because I can't remember the last good movie. I didn't see
Avatar: The Last Damn Airbender for sure.
God. No, that was the best. That was the best game to play because you could beat it in like 15 seconds. Oh yeah. Yeah, or like a minute.
You pay $60 for a game you can beat in like 15 seconds.
Yeah. No. Well, to get achievements, yeah. Dude, whenever I was on that grind on the Xbox, I was like, okay, I'm buying this for like $15. I'm returning it in like 2 minutes. Like, just give me 2 minutes, man.
Okay, I'm sorry.
Yeah, continue. I'm sorry.
I mean, that's all I had to say. I can't remember anymore because I was so interrupted.
I'm sorry.
It's all good.
I would.
Snarf.
I can't remember your question. I kept thinking about the Avatar thing.
I don't
what was
think
that dude's name?
Snarf. It was. Is that He-Man's? His little.
That
Was
little-
that Battle Cat or?
That wasn't Battle Cat.
I can't remember his.
Snarf.
I can't remember his name. I'll Google it. Go ahead, Ethan.
But going back to your question, which is, I would say for me, like, to keep it like as an individual or try and like refresh something, I think it's just mixture. I feel, for me at least.
What are you talking about?
Like, I'll find something like how he says, like, you know, you listen to like a Bruno Mars album or something and you're like, man, how can I recreate that?
Oh.
But I'm not taking it as in like, okay, let's say,
That's in like a rip-off sense.
yeah, like a rip-off. Like, I'm just gonna change one. Instead of like 24 karat, it's 25 karat. Like, no. Yeah. Like, no carat more. It's 1 more carat. No, but like,
no.
like, for example, the story that I was talking about with the kid with the Asperger's, that one came from a movie that the man had Asperger's, and he was trying to form a relationship with this woman, trying to have, you know, like an actual relationship, and sadly it didn't, you know, pan out.
Right.
But for me, but they had like this whole dialect with this father that was not in the movie at all. And I was like, I would like to see an expansion on that. And maybe have it be a little bit younger. Because like I was like, yeah, this guy's like 25, 26. I'm going to go like maybe teenage years. He's lost him. Let's see how we can go. And what can we find in that aspect? You know? And I feel like that's kind of like how I go with any of my stuff. Is that I'm like, I like this story.
Mm-hmm.
I want to see more of it. But in a different aspect.
Yeah.
For me at least.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm always curious to talk to other people who aren't necessarily musicians, but like fellow artists in different kind of aspects of that umbrella, you know, because I feel like the term artist sounds exclusive to like painting or something like that. But music artist, you know, another art form would be writing and directing. It takes a lot of technique and skill.
Exactly.
Bless. But I think that's just so fascinating. There's a lot of different ways to go about things.
Right.
I really encourage people, especially younger people, to kind of at least go for what you want to do.
Right.
You know, if you want to be a celebrity chef, go to culinary school. You know, get trained, work at it.
Yell at people apparently.
Right.
Yeah.
You know, call them like a fuck sandwich or
I know. Yeah. Right.
What are you? I'm an idiot sandwich.
That's so funny.
So,
you know.
question for you guys.
Answer.
Let me ask the question.
Black bear.
Black bear.
What kind of bear
Yeah.
is the best?
Beats, bears, Battlestar Galactica.
What? Michael!
Okay.
Oh my gosh.
So
I definitely just overloaded them. There's no way. Okay.
it just blows up. Michael.
It's like
Whoa,
Kevin
my
Hart.
hair.
It's like Kevin Hart in Jumanji.
What happened?
He eats cake.
Wait, where
and
he
he's-
eats the
Oh
cake
yeah,
and
he's
he's like,
oh yeah.
I'm not dead. It's all good. I just saw that movie, by the way, like an hour ago.
I love that movie.
I'm sorry. What was your question?
Yeah, sorry.
So we're talking about all this, you know, and you know what we love, and you know how we got into it. So, what are you guys' end goals?
Ooh, that's a good question.
I think obviously,
I keep burping.
like we said, it's not for us. It's not about the money,
Yeah.
but obviously, if you can get paid to do the thing that you love
Yeah.
most, that's a huge reward in itself. I remember like the first time I got like a really big, like a high paying gig, I was just like, I'm getting paid to play the trumpet, which is like my favorite thing to do, and I'm good at it, and this person is paying me to do it. You don't get better. It doesn't get better than that.
Right.
It's, you know, someone coming up to you guys and going, hey, so I have all this money. I want you guys to help me make my movie. Can you guys do it? We like your writing, directing style, and you guys are kind of like function as a team. Like, you guys, are you interested? And they're paying you to do the one thing that you want to do most. It doesn't get better than that, really.
Yeah.
And I think for me, coming from the musician standpoint of things, like I said, under that art umbrella, I think to be able to be successful and have good, steady income, and obviously, preferably, like not have to really worry about money if I can get to that point, to be able to say that my job is to go out, whether I'm a main member of a band or I'm just backing somebody up, if I can say every night I'm in an arena playing for all these people who love what I'm doing, and I'm supporting this artist, or I'm, you know, part of this group or a band or whatever, and that's my job, it doesn't get better than that.
Yeah.
Or if I can
No,
go to a
okay.
movie theater and take my parents with me and say, hey, that's what you're hearing is me. I'm
Yeah.
playing for this movie. Like you go to see Black Panther 2 or 3 and I'm in the section playing.
Right.
Like that would be a huge thing for me. So I think my ending goal would be to be successful in that, and then help other people who also want to do that know that it is possible. You might have to work a little bit at it,
Right.
but it is possible to kind of like chase that kind of goal and make it happen for
Sure.
yourself.
I think for me specific.
Whoa. Who said you were going?
Okay,
next?
go ahead. No, you go
I
ahead.
know, I'm just
Well,
playing.
because
Jump shot.
Oh, Anthony with the fadeaway.
I think for me, it would be kind of like, to some of it, I am a little bit selfish because I'm like, are you gonna say something?
Oh,
okay.
Well,
I
I was
thought you were
gonna
be like-
tell you. No, I was gonna tell you. I mean, yeah, it's
Yeah.
yeah.
No,
be
I will
selfish.
say
It's
this.
Your thing.
I will say this. Man, I just want it all. No.
I want all the money in the world.
I want everything.
Gritty.
No.
Money,
But
money.
I'm like,
Mr. Krabs.
if I
me $1 million.
wait, okay. Sidebar. Mr. Krabs was in what movie were we talking about? Ragnarok. Okay. Yeah.
He was the voice of Surtur.
Yeah, I didn't know that.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
His name is Clancy Brown.
Clancy Brown.
He's also the voice of Lex Luthor from the Justice League cartoons.
Oh, okay. Okay. But going back to that, is that no? Go ahead. No.
This is just a totally different subject
Okay.
that I was gonna get into. I'll talk about it later.
SpongeBob? No. But for me specifically, it would be kind of a little bit of selfishness, but to the end goal of it, I want it to be actually okay. This is a good. I'm jumping around,
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
I was watching.
boy.
What's up? What's up?
The Kangaroo Jack.
Yeah, I know, right?
Best
Mama
movie.
said.
I was listening to a podcast today, and I was listening to a podcast today,
Okay.
and they said in the podcast that they went to go see one of the Marvel movies, and they saw a girl that knew of them. She watched their stuff, and also another content creator on YouTube. And she was like, I enjoy you guys so much that it makes me, I was in like a really deep hole at one point, and you guys came out, and you guys were nice to me, and I've been watching your stuff, and I got like, I could see that other people felt how I felt.
Mhm.
And if I can find that for me specifically, and I'm still like, if I'm still at my dead end job or whatever you want to call it, or even like not doing what I want to do, but still getting paid for it,
Right.
or not even getting paid for it. The end goal
Just to
for
have
me
that
is just
impact
like,
on
yeah,
people, right.
is that I want to get people to essentially be happy, you know?
Right. No.
'Cause that's
I feel that
at
on
the
so
end-
many levels.
End game,
Yeah.
money's not going to be there. Material things aren't going to be there. The
Mhm.
happiness that you give people
Yeah.
and also yourself in that
Yeah.
aspect.
People are
Depends
very
on
How
How
much
much
fortunate.
money
you
you get?
Well,
No,
I mean,
because
here-
like, I mean, you think of, I always think
I'm
of,
just playing.
okay,
Yeah.
fine.
I think. I mean, I love how you sum that up.
Yeah.
Like the best moments, like we were talking about, the best moments that a lot of us, it seems like we have in common again. A lot of the best moments that we've had are not like the winning awards or like making money doing it
Yeah.
or whatever. It's really just like if like that one person comes up and really enjoys what you're doing and it improves their lives in some little way.
It's going to improve my life.
I mean, then at least you know that like okay, well someone's like got me on that level, you know.
Exactly.
Which I think is pretty important, especially for any artist, no matter what you're
Yeah,
doing.
or even anything that you're doing. If you're
Oh,
not
yeah.
happy,
Mhm.
like you could be at the dead end job, and if you still have your hobby that
Yeah.
you get to do and for free or whatever,
When I probably
It's
inevitably
awesome.
have to move to LA to try to do studio things,
right?
obviously I'm not going to be like getting all these calls when I first go out
Right.
there, you know, like or whatever I'm doing. I'm obviously going to have to work.
Yeah.
I'm going to have to like it's going to suck. But even if I'm like working at a Starbucks most of the time and then every once in a while I get like a studio gig, I'm okay with that.
Yeah.
Cuz at least I'm doing what I want to be. I would much rather be happy and have to kind of really budget my money and really budget my time and stuff as opposed to like make a lot of money doing something I hate.
Yeah.
Like I actually before I was music performance at a different university before I came to TU, I was music education.
Okay.
Just because it was that fear of like, oh well, I can't do performance because what am I going to do with that? No
Sure.
one's going to, you know. But obviously that didn't stop because that's really what I wanted to do. So I ended up doing it anyway. But I can't see myself at like a high school or college just teaching people. I don't. That's not. That's. I
Yeah.
mean, as a musician,
Yeah.
like some people have that in them. I don't have that in me.
Yeah.
You know, like I couldn't sit behind a desk all day either.
Sure.
If I had to do it as a means to an end, then yeah, I can do that to try to get where I'm going and hop, skip, and jump my way there.
Exactly.
But you really, if you're gonna do something as a career, make sure it's something you really love doing.
Yeah.
Exactly.
You know, that's really, really important.
Like I will say for this, like what we do here, even though it's not, film or what we're doing right now, but it gets me through the week. It's
Oh,
like
yeah.
I enjoy this
Oh, yeah.
every time
It's
that
my favorite
like
part of the week.
or like we'll be talking like I'll always be thinking about this. I'm
Yeah.
like, how can we improve this? How can we get this
Yeah.
to
And-
be better?
Yeah, and my thing is like because I don't film all the time. I don't have time
Exactly.
to film.
I
And
don't know how Casey does it, by the way.
because he doesn't have anything to do.
I know, right?
Yeah.
True. Yeah.
Yeah, and like this is something that will keep me kind of going.
Right.
It keeps my hopes up and all that. And hopefully I'll get done with my script.
Yeah.
Plus, it's just fun to kind of like meet with friends and like
Mhm.
talk about
Yeah.
what's going on and
Yeah.
Yeah.
have deep life
Yeah.
chats.
Yeah. Talk
Yeah, we
about
get to-
Star Wars.
Get to meet with friends at Ethan.
Yeah. I see how it is.
Ethan.
Oh.
Damn.
Okay.
Yeah.
Jump shot.
Whoa.
We're done. No.
But
Have
it's
you
like
seen?
that's yours.
I know.
Have you seen the guy? He's on Instagram and Facebook. His name is Filet.
Is he the black dude with the? Does
He
have
goes
the-
Filet.
Yeah, okay,
And it's like he's.
I don't think
It's,
we're talking about the same guy.
okay, I'll show you a video.
Okay.
It's pretty funny.
Yeah. Well, Anthony, what about you? Oh, okay. I'm glad you guys asked.
You were supposed to go.
Oh.
Well, have we not been doing like this whole like round table thing? Or just go-
I don't know. Anyways.
Okay.
All right, passive aggressive.
Little salt on there.
Hey, Effie, what about you?
Well, glad you asked. I'm not gonna lie. I want an Oscar. I want an Oscar or a Sundance. I want one of those because I feel like I'm not gonna say I deserve it because I haven't really done much, but I dropped out of college because I could have. I don't know. Part of me thinks I should have stayed, but I just know I wouldn't have. I wouldn't have done it honestly. But yeah, that was my goal for like the longest. Because like I was saying earlier, we gotta be selfish sometimes.
Yeah.
And I want
As an artist, you can't not be.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But that's not like my end goal or anything. My end goal is just to just be able to do what I love, which is go around I want to like film and travel.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
That'd be cool.
If I could just do
That's what's
that
up.
for the rest of my life, that would be perfect.
Just
I
buy
could
the
be my own
travel
boss.
channel.
And just keep on just helping. Like I just want to make, like I said earlier, I want to make films to take people out of their situations that they're in right now.
Right.
That kind of escape.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just a little
Totally get that.
give them a little breathing room.
Yeah.
Because
With this world that we live in, it's just very chaotic.
yeah, exactly.
And
Feel
people
like
need that.
A lot going
People
on.
need that.
As time goes on, I feel like it's so much. It gets easier and easier to be stressed and be bogged down
Oh,
by
yeah.
like just a bunch of different stuff. And honestly, like I resonate with what you said because if I didn't have to be in college, I probably wouldn't be.
Yeah.
It's so stressful and there's so much pressure to like have your whole life figured out when you get out. There's a lot of crazy stuff that goes on in the world today. So being able to allow people to have an escape is a powerful thing.
Yeah. And also, Ethan, I was never thinking about this until now, but I guess I can kind of relate to you. When you dropped out of tech. What?
Oh no, I didn't know what you were talking about.
No, we're not related, Ethan.
Oh, okay. Oh.
But
That's us. Wakanda forever.
to Chad forever.
Oh my God. That should be. We should make a shirt.
No,
To Chad.
To Chad and to Chandler.
Bromonger.
Bromonger. Oh my gosh.
Sup, dude? It's Bromonger.
Oh,
He's got like his
shot it. It's me, Bromonger, dude. Oh,
He's
yeah.
got like
Yeah.
Where's Flip Cup?
Primitive skate. Oh.
Why do you sound like the dude from SpongeBob who's like, oh,
High tide, dude.
high tide, dude, bro? He's got just like instead of like a utility belt, it's just beers like, all around. He's got like the cooler
Here's a beer
hat.
for you. Beer for you.
Flip Cup, a beer monger.
A beer
I
monger.
love it.
That's awesome.
But
But
yeah.
you can relate to me?
Well, yeah, because
Okay.
the reason I dropped out of college was because I was like, I'm not gonna learn what I want here because
Yeah.
I was taking the only film class they had was
Where
like
were you
this
at?
history. I was at TCC.
Yeah.
And then the first year they had just like this film class and it was like teaching you mainly just
Yeah.
like the history of it. And then the second year was like, oh, we'll give you an internship somewhere. But I'm like, no, I want to do something now.
Right.
I need to, because I've got a lot I want to accomplish.
Yeah.
Try to cut your
And-
teeth early.
Yeah. So then
Yeah.
I'm like, you know what? I'll just drop out of here.
Totally get
And
that.
then I was like, I need to go somewhere where I can learn
Yeah.
and progress. So then that's kind of where tech came in for me.
Yeah.
So yeah, because like I mean, I wasn't feeling it there,
Right,
And it
exactly.
wasn't doing what I wanted.
Mm-hmm.
So I could understand. I can really understand you now.
Yeah,
Okay.
and the thing is, like, and I'm happy that you agree, like, finally understand. But even, like, for example, we talked to a couple of our friends, and they have some similar jobs that we were supposed to be going into after once we left tech. And for me specifically, I was like, I can't do that. I know I can't do that job. Kind of like how you were like,
Well-
I can't be a teacher. Because for me personally, I was like, one, already, because we were doing that type of work in that, I guess, situation. And for me, it was just like, it was destroying my creativity.
Yeah.
And I was like, I need to
That's-
get out.
Yeah. And
Music school can be a lot like
Yeah.
that too.
I want to say about my job, but I hope no one hears it. It's like
If it's gonna put it in jeopardy, I wouldn't.
I wouldn't either. That's why I said some of my friends.
yeah.
You know, but
I mean, I like my job.
yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I get to do somewhat of what I want to do, but there's a kind of just this point to where like when you're just doing all depressing stuff,
There's like a ceiling you just hit.
yeah, and it just that really messes up my creativity.
Exactly.
And-
Yeah.
But today, we did this.
We had a puppy.
this-
yeah. Sorry.
uh,
I'm sorry.
no, but you know, we did this Alzheimer's story, and that one really got me. So yeah, but I try
so
to.
sad.
It is. It's bad. I mean,
Yeah.
I've seen so many dead bodies.
Yeah.
Plus all this teacher stuff that's going on.
Oh yeah.
That's the thing that's really
Yeah,
messing.
you
with
were
me.
very adamant about that last week.
Yes,
Yeah.
it's
Which you should be, but
It's just ridiculous, man.
Yeah.
It's like why these people. I mean, they were in school for years, and
Yep.
they had freaking master's degrees and all that, and it's like, and you get paid like what, like 5,000 more than I do. Like,
Yeah.
come on.
Sure.
But like they definitely deserve that raise, but I hate to say, probably never gonna get it. And I'm for this walkout.
Mm-hmm. It's really unfortunate. My mom's a teacher.
Oh, she is.
Yeah.
She a Tulsa public school
Mhm.
teacher.
Yeah, and
Is she's doing the walkout.
well,
she has to. Yeah.
yeah. Well,
oh, do you have to?
It's happening so much that there's no point to even even if you didn't want to, there's no point to not now because it's just like.
Would you
it's a-
still get paid? Do you still get paid
Yeah,
for the
you do.
walkout?
You
Oh,
do.
okay.
Yeah, I think they get paid till June.
I've talked to my mom
Okay.
about it, because well, she was the one who got me into music, and she studied music in school. She was a voice major and was a music teacher when she first started out. But she's been teaching.
My mom was too.
Yeah.
I'm
She's
just
been
kidding, she wasn't.
My mom was. Yeah.
My cousin? No, but my mom has been teaching
Brother.
for well over 30 years. 30 years is a long time.
Yeah.
And when I talk to her now, her love for teaching and want to pass on knowledge to kids has kind of been soiled just
Yeah.
because it's just
No.
there's so much work involved. There's lesson plans, there's meetings, there's
Yeah.
parent teacher stuff. You have to set up your own classroom. There's no one to help you with that. You have to do it all yourself. I spent summers going up to my mom's school and helping her get all of her stuff together for the whole year.
Yeah.
There's so much work for such little payoff.
Yeah.
Exactly.
And let's be honest, as the generations go on, the kids kind of get worse and worse and harder
Yes.
to deal
And
with.
smaller. Okay,
and
I know
plus-
that they're small.
Yeah.
These kids. Sorry, I
Oh.
digress.
No, yeah, but and plus it's also a thing. Is like, I mean, with these teachers leaving, I mean, how are these kids? Because we have teachers going to Texas, they're going to Little Rock,
Yeah.
all
Yeah.
those places that are so close to us. They pay so much better.
Oh,
There's
yeah.
one state that even pays $50,000 a year for a teacher,
Right on.
and
That would be unheard of here.
yeah, and
Is it Texas? I can see it being
it's
Texas.
somewhere close to us. I think Texas is like they get more. I forget how much.
Okay.
But it's just so ridiculous, man. Because, like I was telling you last podcast.
The Kansas City area
The
is
leg-
actually blown up.
Oh
That's
yeah,
good.
yeah,
They get paid really well out there. I think.
yeah. And Oklahoma is 50th in the whole country on teacher pay.
And just so, in case everyone's counting at home, how many states are there? Anything?
So what?
How many states are there?
I think 50.
Right. So we're last.
Yes.
Awful.
Yes, it's ridiculous. And legislators. Okay, so I think like
Wait,
last
do you guys
year or
count
something-
Hawaii?
Yeah.
Okay. I'm kidding.
Okay, good. But
What the hell?
know.
Where did you go to school?
I was like, I gotta make a joke somehow. I don't know how, but
so they had a chance to give teachers more pay, but because they somehow found, we found $240 million to kind of scrap up. I wonder what we should do with it. Oh, let's do renovations for our fucking Capitol, and do it for stupid cosmetic shit. I mean, all the teachers are asking is right now is like for $6,000, increase on their salaries. That's all they're asking.
Each teacher gets $6,000 increase.
Yeah, but they're not gonna do that for us. And even when the teachers went to the Capitol last month, no one talked to them. No one, and they.
What
no
boggles?
dice.
Yeah, didn't you go up there for that?
No, we had a crew up there, but
okay.
I was there when they came back.
Oh, okay, that's what it was. Yeah.
What just I don't logically understand is like if you really think about it, you have all these people who are incredibly intelligent, people who are like doctors and lawyers and politicians and all of that. How do you think they get their knowledge of all those things?
Exactly.
How does a doctor who if God forbid something horrible happened to a family member or something like that, you go into a hospital, you have a trained medical professional who's been to school for a decade.
Yes.
Trying to study and be a master of what it is because they have people's lives in their hands. They had teachers to teach them that.
Yes.
So if you are tasked with that responsibility, why are you not getting paid more?
Exactly.
Yeah.
I don't understand that. You have people who
agree.
teach elementary school kids who mold the minds of young children who are getting paid like shit. Like I just don't understand that.
In a way, this goes back to what we've been talking about this whole time. Is like doing what you love. You don't have to have the money, but in this case,
they're being taken advantage of.
You do not get taken advantage of. That's why they're doing this walkout.
Right.
Exactly.
April 2nd, and I want to remind everyone, if you need daycare for your kids or something, go to Salvation Army. They'll take your kids for free. They can hold up to 400 kids per facility.
Oh, I didn't know that.
There's 6 Salvation Armies in Tulsa.
They got snacks.
Yeah.
Are you gonna go? Ethan?
Well, we talked about it last week.
So when when you need someone to watch your kids, they aren't just babysitters. They were going to be teaching your kids. Your kids are going to be doing activities. They're going to be feeding them breakfast, lunch, and snack. Just make sure you go and sign up for that because if this affects you, just And I'm not sure if any other agencies are helping out right now, and also teachers. Every Tuesday night, you get a free breakfast buffet at Mozzie, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah. It's something at Mozzio's you guys get every Tuesday night.
Yeah.
But, okay. So, I'm just kind of getting off the subject for a bit. Okay. So, I've been waiting for you to come back so I can bring up this topic. Okay. I've been arguing with people because I see all over
Is
Facebook.
one of those people Ethan?
No. Those black people.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, they've been making me mad lately. So,
well, shocker.
Oh, darn. But
that's a first.
okay, so I'm seeing all these posts. I'm not gonna say names, but we all know them. From black people, black people.
I know. Okay.
And they're all like, I don't understand why y'all getting so excited over Black Panther. We got all these other great black movies, but y'all ain't running to those. So my thing is like, all we get nowadays, are Tyler Perry movies and slave movies and the occasional gangster movies. We get all these sad movies, but this is something totally different to us. We've had black superheroes in the past, but none of them were just like, oh, I look up to him and all that. This was different. This was a huge stride in cinema, not just for black cinema, but just like cinema in general.
Right.
This was a true standalone film, and we haven't had like a AAA film.
Well, especially not a standalone that made over $1 billion.
Yeah, exactly.
In a record-breaking time, and still making a lot of money.
And they're all
Insane.
like, and the posts I've seen, they're like, okay, I see you guys lined up, watching Black Panther and all that, but I don't see you guys lined up to go see Birth of a Nation. First of all, Birth of a Nation was only in certain cinemas,
like Circle Cinema and
in the United States. It wasn't even in every freaking state.
The biggest difference. Oh, I'm sorry.
Oh no, you could go.
I mean, I don't want to assume I know where your question is going. Well, we'll just ask me just so.
Okay. Do you think that's wrong? I don't. Okay, personally, I don't. I'm just gonna say that. What do you think? Because I mean, we've had all these. That's all we've ever gotten is just slave movies and Medea movies and.
Like,
just
okay, so those movies are in different categories. You have movies that are like Straight Outta Compton, which is like a very true story, and it deals with what's honestly quite depressing and real life events that kind of go within kind of a racist undertone because they were treated unfairly because of the way they look and the way they speak and where they're from. And that's not like an empowering thing to see all the time. In that movie, there's a scene, and I think we've mentioned it before on the podcast, but they're all outside after they're in the middle of recording. They take a break and they step outside, and they get put on the ground. It's in the trailer, I think. They get put on the ground because they're just outside. You know, that's not something. I mean, personally, I can identify with that because I've had run-ins where I've had racist encounters in places that I'm at, and I'm not going to mention those places, but I've had situations that are similar to that. Which, when I see that on screen like that, like in Straight Outta Compton, that doesn't make me feel good. It just makes me remember, like, oh yeah, people are still shitty like that. You know, that doesn't empower me and make me want to like be. I mean, I'm always proud about being a black person, and I'm proud about where I come from, right? But Wakanda forever. But that doesn't make me feel empowered like that, the way that the Black Panther movie did.
Yeah.
And going off of that, the Madea movies is like
Madea,
right? And here's and in a I mean, I know it's those movies are like more for comedic purposes, but I like how you set it up. So there's like three different ways of. Well, really, mainly two different ways of. No, I was wrong. Three different ways. There's either like a gangster film that's like Straight Outta Compton, the very real, like 12 Years a Slave, Django Unchained, very realistic.
Ooh, Django Unchained. I forgot about that.
Yeah.
Let's take that one out of the category.
Well, I mean,
that was a badass freaking movie.
Okay,
man.
right.
That made me feel
right. But that movie like had a lot of undertones about the realism of what it was like to be a black person in that era.
Oh yeah.
So I'll throw that in there. And then there's the kind of satirical comedy that Madea is that plays on stereotypes and tropes of black people and black culture that makes it funny.
Yeah.
Which, again, isn't as much empowering as it is poking fun at the stereotypes that we all know about black people and making it funny.
Yeah.
You know, like, y'all want some collard greens and some chicken? And like obviously, black people aren't the only ones who love fried chicken. Everybody loves fried chicken.
Yeah, I don't know who doesn't like fried chicken.
Right. And if you don't, you're wrong.
Yeah.
But
they're eating those fried chickens.
But, you know, those things are totally different. Black Panther serves a totally different purpose.
Yes, I agree.
Much like, actually, very similar to Wonder Woman. Like, before Wonder Woman came out, we had not had a movie that had, actually, in a very long time, that was empowering for women in the sense that the main character is a female. It's about her overcoming, like, a really difficult stuff. She's put in adversity, and because she's a woman, she has to overcome that in different ways. There's a scene in that movie. She goes in to talk with all the men, and they're like, "Well, what is she doing here? Why is she talking? She doesn't get to talk. What is this?" You know. And for Black Panther, we are given our main character, who just happens to be an African king, once again put up against adversity and against all odds, triumphs and is the hero of the movie and the central focal point of the movie, which we hadn't, to my knowledge, in my like lifetime, I haven't seen a movie quite like that.
I haven't either, yeah.
You know, and so it's totally wrong to even kind of put those within the same thing, I think.
Exactly. And also, I want to put out, kind of going off what you're saying earlier, this is a movie about black excellence, I feel. We don't get that. We really don't get that. It's telling us we're royals, we're kings and queens, you know. And one thing I really liked about Black Panther that kind of made it different from all the other black movies that we see is that there wasn't any race. Really.
No.
Really, no. That's another thing I liked. And I feel like, you know how black people are all like, oh yeah, you got to watch Roots, you know, if you're black. That's a, and
which it's a very stereotypical thing to tell people to watch if you're black.
Yeah, which I will agree with that. I mean, I think you have to watch Roots.
Well, it's good to know where all of those kinds of ideas and tropes and stuff come from.
Yeah, but I'm gonna say right now, I think we all should watch Roots, but then right after that, we watch Black Panther because it's just because Roots is like telling us the story, you know, how we got here, you know, what we've been through, and then Black Panther is more of a film that's like, this is where we are. Yeah. This is what we're meant to be. You know, we're kings and queens, we're royals.
Right. I mean, going off of what Ethan said, I think he said earlier about how
chickens.
You know,
yeah, I was like, all I said was chicken.
Is delicious.
Yeah.
No, but
except for chickens.
Those kinds of the way you portray things is not just applicable to black people, but to women and people of all races and colors and whatever. Yeah. It's just kind of a weird thing because, I mean, I'm sure you've had an experience like this. I remember the first time I watched Roots. It was in middle school, at Thoreau, And
Wait, they let you watch Roots?
Miss Deweese's class.
mhm.
Yeah.
And
They let you watch
I remember
Roots at
we
It was very powerful though.
Yeah.
Man.
It's rated R. Like, I didn't think they'd let you
well,
watch that.
not all of it. They
Yeah,
certain sections that
because
Your
they had to
name
deal
is
with.
Toby.
right.
Kutakete.
Yeah, I don't think we saw that.
Oh, that's
But,
I
that.
saw that later.
Yeah.
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 But I remember there was a part that we saw in an auditorium, and it was one of those things where it was just kind of like I didn't say anything at the time, but the black people were on the screen and they were like they have the scenes of them in the boats and they're chained up and stuff. And then as I'm looking around, all of the people who aren't black are looking at all the black people, which is I mean
Oh,
like
really?
not in like I mean it's not they don't mean it like ha that's you.
Oh.
It's not like that.
Yeah.
But it's just like.
It's like, can I touch your hair?
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just kind of like it's weird to be put in that kind of situation. And when you see stuff like that, it's not like, man, that's where people came from, and I'm glad that things are better. It really makes me think like I feel very uncomfortable watching this.
Exactly. Yeah.
Where I mean, as important as it is to talk about and learn and watch and read about those things when you're older, I think when you're younger, there's a sense of empowerment that gets lost in translation.
Yeah.
And if I was a little kid and I could go to the theater with my mom and dad, like holding their hand on the way in as a little kid, as a little black kid, and watching something like Black Panther.
Oh gosh, that was my dream.
Like
man.
that could be completely life changing.
Yeah.
And it takes on a whole nother view, and it's quite powerful in that way because then that little black kid or black boy or girl or whatever can go to the theater and then walk out being like, man, like that could be me.
Yeah, and I was watching this video. It's like, oh, so you guys make it sound like Black Panther was the first black superhero. They started naming all these like Meteor Man, Spawn, Blade, Cyborg, Bumblebee, and like it's just like, but none
Spawn
of those
is like a extra dimensional demon, and Blade was like a dude who killed all these like
Vampires.
Yeah.
and-
right
Exactly.
And plus, you don't want
Meteor Man was just whack. I mean, he was.
Did even
lame.
Cyborg have like a TV show or anything?
No,
I mean,
he was just on
he
Teen
was in like
Titans.
Teen Titans.
Right,
but-
and that was animated.
There's Static
Yeah.
Shock. I mean, he was cool, but the thing is that Black Panther was just so empowering. I mean, we weren't gonna get that through Spawn or Blade or anything like
No.
that. I mean, like friggin' Blank Man, the Brown Hornet. Like, no, we weren't gonna. Even though Brown Hornet was made by Bill Cosby,
Yeah.
he was like one of the Fat Albert.
Hey. What's weird is that I think, well, okay, so like whenever I was younger, they had Kids WB,
Oh,
and Static Shock was one of the
system.
right was one of the few times when. Actually, it may have been one of not maybe I don't want to say the first times because you had the Bill Cosby stuff, but it was another show that was wildly popular. That the main character just happened to be a black person.
Yep.
And for that generation who grew up every Saturday morning watching like Power Rangers, then Static Shock, then Batman Beyond, then like Justice League stuff, like back, that was kind of a big deal because other than that, you didn't really have black characters. You had his name is Jon Stewart, who was the black dude in the Justice League cartoons.
Yeah.
He was Green Lantern, which is comic accurate. But really, you didn't have a lot of things like that were just like, yeah, man, like. And Virgil Hawkins as Static Shock, he went through things, and they even talked about like you're gonna get on to me just because I'm black.
Yeah.
And
I remember that was the first episode.
Right.
Yeah.
And it was they did it so masterfully because they you had the people who were like regular humans, and then you had what in the show what they called the Bang Babies, who had like all of these crazy powers, and there was like a divide. And even though it's like, oh, like people who are like scared of people with powers, it was actually an underlying theme for racism. You have these people who are slightly different than you. They may look the same. Virgil Hawkins is a human, but he's got all these powers, and he doesn't know what to do with them. And you have people who sometimes, don't exactly look human, but the underlying theme is the same.
Yep.
Just respecting and learning how to deal with people who may be different than you, whether it's where they come from or what their beliefs are or the color of their skin or whatever. Those kinds of things as a young kid I just think are so important. And that's not just for black people, that's for everybody.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
I 100% agree with you on that.
As well.
But yeah, I mean, like I was saying earlier, Black Panther was just so empowering, and I wish I had that when I was a kid.
Yeah.
Because that would have made, because I remember just sitting in bed, just being like, man, why isn't there a cool black superhero out here? And we got it.
Yeah.
I mean, a little late, but I'm still happy about it.
Right.
About 20 years late.
Especially as a huge comic book nerd, like growing up with all that stuff and reading a bunch of comics with my uncle as a kid.
Mm-hmm.
Like I've been waiting for something like this forever.
Yeah.
Like, you read all these wonderful stories of Static Shock and Black Panther and John Stewart as Green Lantern and there's a guy named Cloak who's a black guy who's
Cloak and Dagger.
right.
Yeah.
It's just like and War Machine, Rhodes.
Don Cheadle's favorite.
But yet all these wonderful characters to pull from, and yet none of them are getting made just because of maybe racial sensitivity and stuff like that. But I'm glad that people are finally getting there, and those kinds of things are being addressed.
Yeah.
Especially like women are starting to be way more empowered than they have ever been because of things like Wonder Woman and how women are being portrayed and put into more leading roles in movies and stuff like that. So I think it's definitely a good thing.
Yeah.
Speaking of War Machine, do you remember when Terrence Howard was War Machine? Yeah.
I think he left the project because they had differences, and I think he wanted to get paid more.
Yeah, because
he
and Robert Downey Jr. they didn't get along well. I remember.
Well, if you look at Terrence Howard now, he seems like kind of an abrasive guy.
Yeah.
He seems, to be honest, a little self-obsessed as well.
Mm-hmm.
But I got really excited because whenever Iron Man 1 was a thing, and he had the silver suit. That kind of looked a little bit like War Machine, but not like exactly.
Yeah.
Tony Stark flies off, and then
I actually had a toy of that silver suit when I was a kid. Yeah.
Tony Stark flies off to go defeat the Ironmonger. Actually,
oh my gosh, I forget. I didn't even know that was Jeff Bridges at the time.
That was good.
Yeah.
He was a good villain. But then he looks back at the silver suit and goes, "Next time, baby." And I was like, "Yes, it's gonna happen." Like,
I was I remember in Iron Man 3 they brought out the Iron Patriot. That was such a wasted freaking character.
Oh, I know.
Iron Patriot's so freaking cool because he's Norman Osborn in the comics. Mm-hmm. Yeah, because weren't they a part of the what's it called the Thunderbolts?
I think so.
Yeah,
that's some deep cuts too.
Yeah. Oh, which I hope they bring in General Thunderbolt because he was in the first Hulk.
Oh, Thunderbolt Ross, man.
Yeah.
Where he turns to that big lightning dude. Oh, dude.
Oh wait, the lightning dude.
Yeah, so...
because I thought he was Red Hulk. In the comics, he's Red Hulk.
Thunderbolt... Actually, I think he's gone through a couple different iterations. He was Red Hulk, and General Thunderbolt Ross actually ended up getting some kind of mutated thing where he had, electricity kind of powers. Oh. Thunderbolt Ross.
Oh, that's pretty dope. Man. Yeah, because I know right now he has the Iron Patriot suit, and he's Hulk.
Makes no sense.
Yeah.
Why? That's too much.
Yeah. It's like a big old hulked up suit.
Since we're on this kind of topic, what do you guys want to see
from Infinity War
going for? Oh, well, have you guys talked about that?
Okay.
About what?
I thought we were thinking about the same thing because I'm like, oh my god, he's gonna bring it up, but no.
What do you guys want to see from Infinity War? Have you guys talked about that yet?
What were you gonna say first, though?
Well, kind of going along those same lines. Like, what would you be interested to see going in the future, whether it's superhero movies or something in general, like a story to be adapted into film or something like that?
Okay. I got two.
Which I'm sure there could be a lot, but
I got a couple actually. One, I want a proper Dark Knight Returns live action. Yes.
Absolutely.
Two, I see this one's gonna sound kind of blasphemous, but I kind of want another Old Man Logan, but follow the story from the comics. You know how there's the Land of the Hulks, and they got Dr. Doom's land and all that. And then also, there's this. Well, actually, I think they're making it into an HBO series. It's called. I forgot what it was called. I think it was The Good Boys or something like that. It's where all the heroes are evil. All the superpowered people are evil, and I think it was made by Vertigo Comics. And it's just these guys. They're just going around killing them. And it's a really cool series. I wanted The Preacher to get an adaptation, but it already did. It's got a show, but it's not that good.
I heard.
The comic is fantastic. If you ever want to read it, I've got some of them.
I wish they would have done Days of Future Past better as well.
I actually love this one.
No, the movie was great.
Yeah.
But if you go back and read the original comics,
wasn't Rogue the one that went back? in the comic?
I think so.
Yeah.
But the original comic is like insane. You have the
Mm-hmm.
anti-monitors who are like killing off all these mutants, and they're trying to fight to survive. And Magneto has like this safe haven for mutants, but he's Magneto, so he's always up to something crazy.
Oh yeah.
You know, and it's a great story. I would love to see that original story adapted instead of the whole time traveling thing. Even though that was really cool.
Yeah. Ooh. What's up?
Well, no, I'm trying to. I've been thinking, and I think two of the things that I would really like to see, at least in the
Girl Meets World.
Girl Meets World live action. No, but they've already done that.
The anime.
Oh shit!
Oh my
God! Cut that out, Ethan. Cut that out.
It's taken.
I try to
You
clap
just
so
smacked the mic.
I try to
man.
clap so you'll know when to cut.
But I would say either Teen Titans like film, live action.
Well, they have the not the HBO, the TNT series coming out.
Oh, I haven't seen that.
They
Is that
don't
the
have
thing that's
trailer
on
for it.
Netflix?
It's not out yet.
Oh, okay.
They're still doing
Okay,
casting.
because I saw something that said like Titan something on Netflix today, and I was like, "What is that?" I didn't click on it, but also there. Okay, so there is a comic out there where Transformers,
Oh gosh, yo.
and I know I always bring this up, but I would love to see that. Yeah, Transformers and the MCU combine, and so what happens is Megatron. I think somehow. I know it sounds cheesy, but
Screen.
I can't believe we thought of that. The whole time, as soon as you said Megatron,
I knew he was gonna
in
say
the
on Megatron. Like flying around. Megatron. Megatron had like 8 different vehicles. He was like a tank, and then he was a jet, and then he was a jet tank.
It
just,
made no sense.
It's just
Okay, if you go back and watch the original, like the old cartoon,
Yeah.
he sounds just like
yes,
that.
I know. Yeah.
Lord Megatron, yeah.
Is it the same dude that does He-Man? Like,
I would imagine.
I bet they
Honestly,
all
it's gotta
do.
be.
Yeah.
He sounds like a 1920s mob
Right.
over.
That's
And then in the
amazing.
movie, in the live action movie, he's like, Lord Megatron. It's even worse.
Megatron.
It's so gross. It's
Yeah.
so gross.
Man,
It's
I
not.
can't believe we both
Yeah,
thought
I
of
know,
that.
that
I
was
was
crazy.
dying, dude.
Black
my
power.
God.
Yeah.
Um,
Lord Megatron. Okay, I'm sorry.
it's fine. But so
Autobots are
what it's what is it?
Autobots.
What it's about is I think it's been a
their
while.
Sound effects place talking. The
Opt-
Allspark.
Yeah. So
Wiki.
Optimus Prime has the Allspark, and so Megatron obviously wants it, or either the MCU has it, one of the two has it. So
It's an
somebody
Infinity
has
Stone.
it, like somebody has it.
Yeah. I bet. You know
So-
who I bet has it?
What?
Starscream.
I know, right?
It is all mine.
So he goes. Megatron takes Spider-Man hostage.
Megatron takes Spider-Man hostage.
Yeah, and so I think
This sounds like a fan fiction.
I think Nick Samuel L. Jackson's character has the
Nick
Allspark.
Fury?
Yeah, Nick Fury has the Allspark,
Okay.
and so they're like, Optimus Prime is like, hey, we need to get the Allspark. And then we need to destroy Megatron or whatever. And so then the combination is that I know he is dying
What is
over
he
there.
laughing
Do you
at?
want
Is-
some water?
Are
Like,
you laughing at the plot? Because that's kind of fun.
No. the fucking-
No, I'm not.
No, I'm not.
and then Watto just comes out of like nowhere. He's like, you want to buy a pod racer?
That's what made the
Yeah.
comic better.
Exactly.
No, it's just the Starscream thing is so accurate. I just can't not laugh at that.
But I would like to see that, or a Voltron adaptation in live action.
Age of Megatron.
Age of you say Age of Ultron?
No, Voltron.
Oh, Voltron. Oh,
yeah.
Voltron. That'd be dope.
Did you
Okay,
ever
I'd
see?
watch that,
Have you
yeah.
guys ever seen that?
The new series?
That old? No, not the new series, but there was an old, like it came out in 2009 or something,
Oh.
and it was somebody had made a video or like a really short trailer teaser for this Voltron movie,
Oh.
and I was like, it looked badass.
Really?
And I
Was
was
it-
I can't
was that-
remember. I'll
Man, a lot of those
I'll
fan-
find it
A
in
lot
the
of those
links in
fan-made
the description
trailers look
below.
So
You see
awesome.
that
Yeah.
the fan made Justin. What was his name? Justin Chow. Is he the one who made the Power Rangers movie? The short
Oh,
film?
oh no, I know
Is
what you're
it-
talking about. The Power Rangers one with the guy from Dawson's Creek.
Yeah,
It's
because he did the Bad Blood video.
yeah, it's not. You said Justin Chow because I'm thinking of Justin Chon right now.
Oh, that's what I was about to say.
It's not him. It's cried.
I know it's not James Woo.
No.
I know he's Asian. That's all I know.
Yeah, he is.
Oh, but they're okay. I want a dark Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles movie.
Yeah.
Yeah,
like,
because
like a more realistic.
yeah, like in their freaking like the comics.
dude.
Yeah, the comics like they were dark, really dark.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, so that's what I really want. Oh, but I had there's a question I was gonna ask you guys way earlier.
Yeah.
And I guess while Ethan's searching that, I'll ask.
Yeah, go ahead.
Go for it.
Best
Joseph
voice-
Kahn. Sorry.
Okay, yeah.
Yep.
Okay, that sounded really racist. I'm sorry, all you Asian people. I feel bad.
It's all good.
Okay, so best
Star screen. Can't get over that.
So okay,
So funny.
best voice actor of all time.
Me.
I think.
Please don't say what I'm thinking. I want to look sophisticated.
Voice actor.
Well, obviously, if oh man, in personal opinion, or the person who's had like
Personal opinion.
obviously had the most effect on voice acting.
Personal opinion.
Mel Blanc was really amazing.
Damn it, gosh, damn it. That's what I was gonna pick.
But to be honest, for me, I think the most surprising, which since I'm a big comic book nerd, isn't all that surprising.
Are you gonna say Mark Hamill?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Tom Kenny.
Well, because I think with Mark Hamill, I mean Mel Blanc is great, and I'm sure you can talk about that. But Mark Hamill is so much a chameleon that you wouldn't know it's Mark Hamill.
Actually, I will tell you this. So whenever Arkham City came out,
Yeah.
that was the first time that I found out that he was doing the Joker for like anything.
Oh really?
And yeah, because like I mean, I really
I
didn't.
mean, who would have
read
thought
or
Luke Skywalker is also like one of the greatest
villains ever.
villains
No.
in arguably.
Well, he has all
of
that
history.
hate like towards his father. He,
I
he's
mean,
gonna
it's
turn
just
into a villain
it-
at some
yeah.
point.
It's not. He tells there's a it's on Kevin Smith's podcast.
Mm-hmm.
He was talking about what it was like. He's coming like off of he did some Broadway stuff. He
Yeah.
did Star Wars, and he was telling about how he got that gig. And he was like, when I went into the studio to do the audition, I heard that they were making Batman the Animated Series in like the '90s, early '90s, and I knew that I like because he's a huge comic book nerd.
Yeah.
He was like, I want to do it like really, really bad, but I just want to be someone like that no one would know of, like Clayface or like Two-Face.
Mm-hmm.
Nothing crazy, or like Mr. Freeze. There's something under the radar. And so they heard about it, and there's an episode in the first season called Heart of Ice. He plays the guy who pushes Mr. Freeze into the solution that turns him into Mr. Freeze.
Oh God,
But-
Sub-Zero was like the best freaking movie.
So great.
ever.
But they asked him, they called his people, and they were like, hey, we want him to come in and read for the Joker. And at the time, he was doing Broadway for a Broadway play called Amadeus, where he played Amadeus Mozart. And the thing with Mozart is he has like this kind of crazy laugh. He writes all this amazing, beautiful music. I can't keep watching this.
I know. I'm
This
sorry.
is just
I was gonna take it off.
so many
but
multitasking.
I know.
But
It's so good though.
it looks amazing.
Yeah.
great.
But he writes all this beautiful, like angelic music, but he's like this crazy kind of like kind
Yeah,
of crazy guy.
yeah.
And so he'd been doing a lot of laughing for that. And so when he went in for the Joker, there was no like preconceived notion, because he said in the interview that he was like, "There's no way they're gonna hire Luke Skywalker of all people to play one of the baddest dudes in all of history, like this maniac."
Uncle Ben.
So
Yeah.
then
like his
obviously he
rice.
got the gig, but I just think if you go back and listen to some of the lines that he says, the delivery is just impeccable.
Yeah.
Like he's so good at what he does, and he's such a he gets pigeonholed for being Luke Skywalker all the time. But that man is an incredibly seasoned actor, and he can really do the job well.
Yeah.
I'd have to he's probably one of my favorite actors of all time, to be honest.
Yeah, and I could see where you're coming from, because he's definitely he's like you said, he's really good with his delivery, and that's what makes him so great.
Yeah.
But the reason I picked Mel Blanc is because he was the one that revolutionized the multiple
Oh yes.
voices in cartoons. Because like most of the time you couldn't even tell it was him because he was just that talented, and he played so many
Between like
so
all
many-
of the Looney Tunes
Yeah.
and like it's
and then all the
insane.
Hanna-Barbera stuff and
Oh yeah.
because he was truly one of the best. I mean, honestly, that's his title. I mean, Tom Kenny. The thing about the separation from him from Tom Kenny is that Tom Kenny, you can hear his voice in all the characters he does. Like
Mel
like-
Blanc is a true chameleon, not chameleon.
yeah, because he's so good at disguising his voice, and you do not know it's
Yeah.
him. But Tom Kenny, he has his signature voices. You know, he's got like the little. You remember the ice guy on
Ice
Adventure
King.
Time? Yeah,
I was
Ice
just thinking
King.
that. Yeah.
It's like that's like
Clearly
the main
Tom
voice.
Kenny's voice.
Yeah, and then the only voice that he does that is so just like you can't tell, that's Tom Kenny is SpongeBob.
Yeah.
That's the only
Because
one.
it's just so out there and kind
Yeah.
of crazy.
But with Mel Blanc, I mean, he did it all.
Yeah.
That was him.
Mel Blanc's
he
one of those
owned
dudes where like
animation.
people know him for being Bugs Bunny specifically,
Mhm.
but if you were to look at all the characters he did when they like were first like created and originated,
Yep.
he did all of them, like
Yeah.
all of them. He was doing everything.
He was Looney Tunes.
Yeah, I
No,
was actually
seriously.
looking at the
Yeah.
just his list.
Do you have some of his
Yeah,
character
what-
lists
yeah,
on
I
there?
was,
It's
but
on
I,
his list.
I was looking at Casey Kasem because that's kind of what I grew up with
Mhm.
from Scooby Doo. I think that would
Like
be the one.
Zoink
I know,
Scoob.
dude.
Like, whoa.
But like variations from Flintstones, Jetsons,
Mhm.
even Speedy Buggy, Pinocchio.
Does it have some of his characters?
No, it's just showing the movies that he was in. I mean, I would have to go into it specifically, but
Yeah, he was just truly the best. He had to be. But I will agree with Nathan though. He's Mark Hamill. His delivery is
Yeah.
just amazing.
Yeah.
He's also a true legend as well. Oh, Captain Caveman. That was on the Flintstone Kids. That was like the little. You know how cartoons just have like the little. We're gonna take a break, but here's a little cartoon.
okay, yeah.
Yeah.
You guys have Boomerang?
Yes, and
Yeah?
I've been watching that because I've been feeling nostalgia for no reason
Yeah.
lately, and
That's
I've
good.
just been wanting to go back.
I need to get it again because
Oh,
we had
do
it
you
for
have
a
Hulu?
while. No,
You just told me you did earlier.
when?
We were talking about something earlier,
Mhm.
and you said, "Yeah, I
Oh.
have Hulu."
My bad. No,
Thanks for lying.
sorry.
Before we get off that topic, I think another one of my favorite voice actors is a guy named John DiMaggio.
Oh,
Yeah. And that dude is
I forgot all about it.
wildly talented. Wildly talented. He was Dr. Draken off of Kim
okay.
Possible. He's Bender from Futurama. He's Jake the dog.
Oh, okay.
He's Marcus Phoenix from Gears of War.
Yeah, that's
Nice. He's
I didn't know
that
he was
guy.
Marcus Phoenix. Oh, that makes sense now. Yeah.
Mhm. He was
Oh,
Schnitzel
yeah.
from
Taking the-
Chowder. Rada Rada.
Oh,
Rada,
really?
rada, rada.
I love
You
that
take
show.
the moon and you take
He was
the sun.
he was
You
brother
take
he was Brother
everything
Blood in
since
Teen
I
Titans.
found-
Yeah.
Yeah, that was good.
You guys remember Brother Blood?
Oh,
in
yeah,
Teen
yeah,
Titans? Yeah. He was
Oh.
him.
Mm-hmm.
He's done a lot of stuff, and he's fantastic.
There was one other one I was. Why do we not freaking think of? I can't think of her name right now.
Tara Strong.
Tara Strong. Yeah.
I can read your mind.
Her thing is she's kind of like Tom Kenny though. She has like the same voices.
Well,
she
I
has
mean-
like that Buttercup voice, or she has that Bubbles voice.
Or like the Timmy Turner kind of like
Yeah.
little boy voice.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, there are a lot of good
Yeah.
actors.
I
There's one.
think-
There's one. He was a comedian. He has that really distinguished voice. He played the parrot in Aladdin.
Oh, Gilbert Godfrey.
Yeah, Gilbert Godfrey. Yeah.
That weird. I can't do that impression.
I don't think anyone can do his impression. He was definitely 1 in a million. I was watching this H3.
Jafar! Like all that all the time.
Jafar! Yeah, I can't do it.
It's just
Yeah.
the Starscream.
Yeah, but like he is hilarious. H3H, they did a podcast with Bob Saget.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, and Bob Saget, he's fucking funny. I
He's
thought he was
so funny.
yeah, and he was telling them about the roast because
Of Gilbert
Oh,
Godfrey.
yeah.
yeah, and Gilbert
Yeah.
Godfrey did him in, man. Oh my gosh, that dude is something else.
Oh, okay. I know who you guys are talking about. I just
Yeah.
looked him up. Yeah,
Who?
Gilbert Godfrey.
Oh yeah.
Hakuna Matata. Oh no, he wasn't in that.
No, he
I
was
was,
in
thinking, I was
Aladdin.
thinking of Aladdin. Oh, Going back in time. Hey guys, how's it going? It's me, Anthony Fraizer.
We say everything over again.
Yeah.
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 No. I've always like I have this weird obsession with voiceover.
Mm-hmm.
There are so many that are amazing. Rob Paulson is another one.
Oh yeah.
Maurice LaMarche is another great one.
Oh, the black dude who plays Samurai Jack and Green
Phil
Lantern.
Lamar.
Yeah, Phil Lamar.
Yeah.
Yeah, he plays Green Lantern. He played not Samuel Jackson.
He's
Samurai Jack.
Yeah, I think
And
I'm not for sure. I think he's also is he also Cyborg?
No, he's not. That's
No, he's
someone
not.
else. No.
He's Hermes. Phil Lamar is also Hermes from Futurama.
Yeah.
What are you doing?
But gosh, no. What was I gonna say?
I
though?
gotta go rewatch that. I love that show.
I don't. You see, I never finished it. Matthew showed me it for the first time because my mom didn't let me watch it as a kid. So and I watched like the first few seasons. I was like, this is kind of funny.
Man, that dog episode. I don't know if you guys remember that. It's like I think in the first season, and that always
Like
gets
dog
me.
or dog.
Like
Like an
dog.
actual dog.
Like it's it's what's his name's dog? I can't think of his name right now.
Queen Latifah's.
No.
Okay.
No, I have like a weird obsession with voice acting. I've always wanted to try it because I just think it's
That'd be fun.
awesome.
You know, I know you don't like anime, but anime always has some very distinguished male voices.
No, I mean
Like-
I've heard that like whole community is just like they're superstars.
Because there's this guy. He's my favorite. His name's Johnny Young Bosch. He was the Green Power Ranger at one point, or he was one of the Power Rangers for a while, a few Power Rangers, and then he got into martial arts, and then he got into voice acting, and he was
This guy.
yeah, it's my boy. But yeah, he played Ichigo on Bleach.
Oh,
Yeah.
doesn't he play Sasuke as well?
Mm-mm.
No, who's
No.
that guy? I like that guy.
I don't know who that
He's
guy
cool.
is. But
He
yeah,
was on Power Rangers SBPD.
yeah,
Yeah, man.
yeah. He
Wait, what is his name?
Johnny Young Bosch. He's an amazing voice actor, and he has such a distinguished voice. And there's this guy's name's Bryce something, but he's like taking over like all the main characters now in anime. But yeah, and I like their voice actors because their voices are like really distinguished from what we get in American animation. Because they sound more. I don't want to say more realistic, but they sound more. I guess
Human.
yeah.
I know what you're saying because
Yeah.
like in animated things in America it's
They're
usually
just
like
so
these
exaggerated.
crazy characters
Yeah.
and for them it's usually like
It's
actual
like da like
right and then in like in anime and things like that it's more of a realistic kind of instead of just being like a crazy character they'll like actually okay
no. I just made Ethan laugh.
That's awful.
Star Screen
Oh my gosh.
Lord Megatron I like how I always calls him Lord Megatron
He just flies down, Lord Megatron. He was Megatron's bitch, man. He's like,
oh my god
I am Optimus Prime.
cracks me up.
Oh man. Well, guys, how long have we been doing this?
It's like 2 hours.
2 hours.
2 hours and 34 minutes.
Damn, I was hoping it'd be longer so we could like make this 2 episodes.
You want to keep going? We can keep going.
If we can keep going for like 30 more minutes, that'd be cool because we can make 2 episodes out of
What do
this.
you want to talk about? I got some things.
What do you got? What you
I
got,
don't know.
Ethan?
I didn't think you'd call me on my crap. No, so Marvel, this is that the thing with Knuckles?
No.
Oh my gosh.
I just want to find the old like animated like that ridiculously whiny voice. Awkward.
I know.
Silence.
Well, we're all looking at other things right now. Okay, because I got pee. Thank you for listening to Movie Man Talks. If you enjoyed this episode, consider subscribing to our channel at Movie Man Productions, or like our Facebook page at Movie Man Productions.